You guys, if you don't abandon your cultivation, kneel down, you'll be begging for death. In Yi Tian Muzora field of vision, after seeing some Tai disciples still standing, you look coldly, raise your hands and fly out with a blade of wind. If you have something to say, be merciful. But at this time, along the rear hall of the crowd, suddenly there were several deep shouts, and then 4 figures came together. But Yi Tian just did not hear these people's words. The wind blade did not have any delay to fly out, fell on the Tian disciples who were still standing, cut them into 2 sections, blood splashing, blood-rich, disgusting. Sir, is there anything you can't say well that you have to use this cruel method? Seeing this scene, the dignified middle-aged man, who led the way, looked at the dead disciples on the ground. His eyes twitched and his heart was still palpitating. At the same time, he looked at Yi Tian unhappily and said in a deep voice, "Sect Master, help us." Seeing the middle-aged man, those Tian disciples kneeling on the ground immediately looked at the middle-aged man as if they had caught the straw and cried, "I don't know what kind of feud we have with you. You can tell me. We will help you solve it. Why fight like this?" Closely following, a Shomei old man beside the master of Taigate looks at Yi Tian and says in a deep voice, "If it is to change to do to wait for the idle person to break into the gate of Tai, he would have killed him long ago. He would not be so good-natured at all." But Yi Tian just killed 2 Tianji in one move. They can't help being careless with his strength. Have you ever heard of Yi Honlai and Mu Ci? Yi Tian glances at them and calms down. Shomei's face was full of confusion, and he had no impression of these 2 names. "You are Yi Tian of Nanhai." Yi Honlai and Mu Ci's son Tai Door master heard this, corner of the eye a draw, looking at Yi Tian, strange exclamation way. Yi Honlai and Mu Ci's affairs were planned by him, and after that operation, he let Taiman catch White Wolf empty-handed, and the harvest was very abundant. However, he remembers that after Su Zhaoyan reported the name of Yi Honlai, he asked his Taiman to investigate the situation of the Yi family. He found that there were no mountain people up and down the Yi family, and there was no sign of friendship with Sanzangliaman, so he sent someone to fight bravely. As the son of Yi Honlai and Mu Ci, Yi Tian is naturally the focus of their attention. According to the information they received at that time, the young man named Yi Tian is just an ordinary college student of Nanhai University. It is for this reason that after they killed Yi Honlai and Mu Ci, they did not kill Yi Tian. But he really didn't expect that the ordinary boy in the data, now, has grown up to the height of this, a person to break into the Tai gate alone, such as into the realm of no one, even killed 2 days later. He didn't know whether the original intelligence was wrong or why, but if he had known that, even if he had lent him 100 courage, he would never have provoked the Yi family. What's more, he really can't figure out. Even if there was a big mistake in the original intelligence, how could a young man who just went to university cultivate himself at such a young age? Look at you, you seem to be familiar with this name. Yi Tian's eyes are sharp. He sees that the look of the master of Tai is not right. He shouts coldly, "I have heard of these 2 names." The owner of Tai Gate nodded, then looked at Yi Tian, clasped his hands, and said slowly, "This matter is really my mistake. We are willing to take responsibility. I'll come up with a solution. Tai sect will hand over the real murderers of Yi Honlai and Mu Ci, apologize to you, and compensate you." "I don't know what you think of this?" "I don't think so." Yi Tian light smile, indifferent way. "What do you mean, sir?" "We Taiman have lowered our figure and are willing to apologize to you. What else do you want?" As soon as the words came out, an old man named Goathu, who was next to the leader of Tai's sect, immediately raised his eyebrows and looked at Yi Tian angrily. He cried out unhappily, "We've all apologized. What else do you want?" Yi Tian looked at the Goathu old man's angry and aggrieved face and sneered. "They are really used to bullying others. They are not allowed to bully them at all. They regard people's lives like weeds and kill people at will. They don't know how many lives they have under their hands. Now, they are just killing a few of them. They can't bear it and feel extremely wronged. Even when he has been trampled on by himself, he can't put down his so-called high position. He even said we have bowed our head and apologized. What else do you want to say? I want my parents to come back to life. I want to see them. I want to continue to be filial at their knees. Can you help me achieve it?" Yi Tian looks at the old goat who sneers 2 times, light way.
You're kidding. People can't come back to life after death. Who can do such a thing except Lord Yama? Goat who old man cold hume, light way. You know you can't come back from death. Since you can't help me fulfill my wish, why should I let you culprits go? Yi Tian sneers indifferently, his eyes are congested, and his voice is hoarse. He immediately stretches his hand forward, and his cloud-catching hand urges him. A fierce force comes out. He doesn't give the old man any time to react, so he pinches him in front of him. Elder Zhang. As soon as this scene came out, the owner of Tai Gate and Shomei old man immediately exclaimed. Click. But almost at the same time when they speak, Yi Tian holds Elder Zhang's hand around his neck and makes a crisp sound. Elder Zhang doesn't even have time to hum. His head falls on his shoulder and his breath is gone. He killed another one of them. This guy, even in front of us, is so arrogant. In this scene, the owner of the Tai sect and the old man with Shomei's eyes twitched wildly. He was shocked and even more angry. I think they are at the top of the mountain people in the later stage of heaven level, but now, in front of Yi Tian, they are just like the mole ants who have been slaughtered wantonly. So it seems that you are going to stay with us Taemin forever. Taidor main mouth corner twitch a few times, the vision is gloomy to look at Yi Tian, a word a meal, slowly weigh. Of course, blood feud should be washed with blood. From today on, there will be no Tai sect in the world anymore. Yi Tian sneers indifferently and looks at the master of the Tai Gate. As he exits word by word, he raises his hand, and several wind blades sweep towards the 3 of them. Boom! 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 The corner of their eyes twitched and they dodged quickly, but almost at the same time, the place where they had just set foot was cut by the wind blade, and large pieces of earth and rock flew, and a group of buildings collapsed. This guy, young, how tough he is. The leader of Tai sect and the 2 remaining Tianji later stage look at each other and see a strong shock and fear from each other's eyes. At this moment, they suddenly feel that even if they join hands, they may not be Yi Tian's opponent. Even if they lose both sides, I'm afraid they can't do it, waiting for their end, which is likely to be the same as Elder Zhang's. Look at each other, 3 people from each other's eyes, see a mind. Tai Gate is about to be destroyed. Please go out and kill this Liao. Seeing this vision, the master of Tai Gate didn't have any hesitation. He raised his head and yelled loudly. Elder Supreme? As Meng Fang said, Taemin had not only 6 talents but also hidden cards. Hearing this, Yi Tian's eyes suddenly changed, and then, along the far rear of the building, a violent roar suddenly came. Immediately, a violent gas engine spread out rapidly, and then firmly locked him. Top of the sky. There is a supreme elder in Taemin. As soon as Yi Tianjia sensed this breath, his mind was immediately awed. He felt that this breath was stronger than the leader of Tai sect and Elder Zhang. It seems that in the past, Lu Bufan, the first person on the mountain, actually had a lot of water. His heaven-level peak is not unique. Since Tai sect can have a hidden heaven-level peak, other sects must have similar cards. Although Yi Tian was shocked by this, he was not surprised. After 200 years of cultivation, he knew that it was very important for a clan to show its strength, but it was more important to hide a few unknown cards. Only in this way, others can't estimate the strength of your sect. They dare not attack you rashly, and when the attack comes, they can surprise each other. Obviously, Taemin, the supreme elder at the top of the heaven level, is the hidden card of Taemin. However, even at the top of the sky, Yi Tian is not afraid of revenge for his parents. He fawn, how dare you come to our Tai Gate to show your ferocity? Immediately, along the distance, came a low cold drink, and then, wearing a loose white robe, sparse hair, rickets, but in the eyes, but blooming a frightening old man, like a rabbit up and down, came from the distance and stood in front of Yi Tian. Top of the sky. There is a supreme elder in Tai sect. We are saved. Ha! Tianji Peak is the strongest one in the mountain. When Tianji Peak comes out, who will fight? We can be saved. Tai Gate can be saved. That's great. We can help Taemin. Seeing the top of heaven class, Tai disciples were shocked, but also excited. The highest peak of heaven level is an insurmountable peak among the people on the mountain. Lu Bufan, the first person on the mountain, is just such a cultivation. In their mind, Yi Tian, no matter how strong he is absolutely no better than the top of the sky. Boy, if you don't have a toast, you'll wait for the bar. Elder Taishan comes forward to let you die without a place to die. We'd like to apologize to you. If you don't want to, you can die.
It's not only the Tai disciples, but also the Tai sect leader and Shomei elder.
When they see the elder, they are also calm.
They look at Yi Tian with a cold smile, as if they have seen the picture of Yi Tian's tragic death in the hands of the elder.
The top of the sky, so strong, I'm so scared.
Yi Tian listens to these words, looks up and sneers, and immediately raises his hand. The wind blades, with incomparable momentum, fly to the Supreme Elder quickly.
Complete magic. Younger generation, who on earth are you? You are so young that you can use such means.
The elder's eyes were awe-inspiring, and his fist was waved forward. The blazing breath roared out like a strong wind.
After smashing all the wind blades, he looked at Yi Tian in a deep voice.
As far as he is aware of the highest level of heaven, what the mountain people practice is incomplete inheritance method. After several times of mountain sect, I'm afraid only the most mysterious Qingming sect has mastered the complete fairy art.
But now, he sees such a method in Yi Tian, and the other party is still so young. How can he not be surprised? Who am I?
I am the son of Yi Honglian Mu Ci. Yi Tian's eyes are red with blood, and his breath is rolling. He bullies his body forward. The emperor's fist is just fierce, and it falls down on the elder.
So young, so powerful. I've lived in Tianlai all my life, but I've never seen you so strange. It seems that my further hope may fall on you.
Without thinking about it, the elder immediately put his fists in the block, and his fists touched each other. In the terrible roar, he stepped back a few steps and looked at Yi Tian warily. Shocked, his eyes showed a strong color of greed. He thought to himself that he was the top genius among the people in the mountain. But even so, he asked himself that at Yi Tian's age, he must not have such amazing cultivation strength. However, in his opinion, Yi Tian's amazing accomplishments at such a young age must be due to his great fortune in secret. If he can get these things, he may be able to go further, break through his peak of heaven level for many years and enter a more incredible realm.
Fang Shengquan.
Wind prison. Thinking of this, the elder's eyes suddenly changed. He drank low and turned into a ghost-like figure. He threw 5 or 6 fists at Yi Tian. In the blink of an eye, countless tornado-like wind cyclones formed, blocking all around Yi Tian's body. What's more, the wind and cyclone were so fierce that it was even more incredible. As soon as the edge of Yi Tian's clothes was touched, it was immediately stirred into fine powder, flying and sprinkling to all directions, making Yi Tian's body tingle and draw blood marks. Not only that, there is a wind cyclone, but also to the leaves of the sky of Dantian stabbing away. If this blow is hit, Yi Tian's elixir field will be smashed in an instant, and his cultivation will become a bubble. Younger generation, I see what you can do. The elder sneered, as if he had seen that Yi Tian had been abandoned by the wind and cyclone, turned into a useless man, and was captured and tortured by himself. When he was so old, he had the secret of such cultivation and complete fairy art, which helped him break the shackles completely, and move from the top of heaven level to a more incredible realm. Elder Taishan is invincible. This boy will surely die today. Taiman's main idea is that the fundus of his eyes is jubilant. Looking at Yetian, Jie sneers. He was merciful and proposed to hand over the culprit and apologize to him. However, the boy was not satisfied and dared to do it again. This kind of thing, which did not know the greatness of heaven and earth, would have no place to die. No, you can't kill him easily. He has done harm to so many disciples of our Tai sect. I want to catch him and hang him in front of the reconstructed mountain gate of our Tai sect. I want to torture him, strip his skin and cramp, so that all those who dare to do harm to our Tai sect can understand what the end is waiting for them. Although Shomei's face is kind, at this moment, his face is ferocious. His eyes are constantly scanning Yi Tian's body. It seems that he is thinking about where to start, so that he can pull out his tendons completely.
Prison? Do you think you can trap me just by your means? I want to strip my skin and cramp.
I tell you, you people will die today, Tian will die today, but what the three people didn't expect was that the wind was like a prison, but Tian, who was in it, didn't have the fear and uneasiness of the prison inmates. Instead, his face was full of indifferent smile, like looking at the three fools. The younger generation is rampant. Tianlai sneers, hands suddenly, the whole body terrible breath changes, the fierce wind cyclone suddenly closed, accelerated the speed of attack to Tian. But at this time, the strange pictures appeared again. Tian, trapped by numerous wind cyclones, disappeared again like evaporation out of thin air. Where's this guy? The master of Tai's gate suddenly stares big, nervously scanning around, and can't see the trace of Tian at all. The wind prison is blocked. Everything can't be near. Where did you go, boy? He is not only the leader of Tai's sect, but also full of confusion in Tianlia's eyes. He is confident that in his own wind prison technique, even those who have two wings can't escape from Shengtian. But how can Tian disappear out of thin air? It's hard for him to escape from the sky. No, he can't escape from the sky. But the next second, Tianlai had a thump in his heart. Suddenly, he had a bad premonition. Without any hesitation, he turned his fist into a palm, turned his chi machine, wanted to bombard the ground to see if his speculation was true. The highest level, the strongest card, but also so, you can die. But before his palm was raised, Tian's low voice came from behind him. Immediately, Tianlai felt a sharp chill in his back heart. Escape! This boy, in addition to mastering the complete magic, actually has the ability to escape. What chance did this guy get? At such an age, he had such a secret skill and legend. When the cold came, Tianlai felt that his scalp was about to explode, and his panic was even more extreme. Shocked, without any hesitation, he turned quickly to avoid the chill. But unfortunately, although his reaction speed has been extremely fast, it is still inferior to the speed of the cold attack. He just deflects his body a little, and then he feels the cold sense, the cold pain penetrating into his body. In a moment, he saw a sharp blade coming out of his chest. How could it be? What kind of means is this? It's impossible. How could the elder be badly hurt by this younger generation? The leader of the Tai sect and the old man with Shoumei's face full of horror. They can't believe that they are looking at Tian, who is holding a long sword. One sword pierces through the heart of the Empress of Tianlai. They scream and scream, and their eyes are full of fear and tremor. Hiss. The terrible pain swept all over his body. Without any hesitation, he wriggled and wanted to get rid of the sword edge. Then, relying on the strength of the highest level of heaven, he quickly fled to seek the possibility of escaping from heaven. Ha! But just as he struggled, his eyes suddenly widened. He found that along the long sword that pierced his body, there was a strange breadth to the extreme, just like millions of roots grew along the sword body and firmly stuck in his body. He had no way to get rid of the sword. Not only that, but also more bizarrely, he felt that the invisible roots growing in his body along the long sword were like pumps, devouring the vitality of his whole body. Just a few breaths, he felt a kind of weakness that he had never felt since he broke through the sky-level peak. Magic sword. The sword in this man's hand is a man-eating magic sword. Tianlia's whole body was cold, and his eyes were full of shock. He clenched his teeth, endured the terrible pain, and tried his best to twist his body to compete with the power of the sword. But strangely, although he did his best, he could not stop cutting the strange connection. The root of the sword seemed to have completely integrated with his body. As I said, there is only one way out for you. The only way to die is to wait for Tian. Tian sneers, and his tone is cold and indifferent. He didn't intend to give Tianlai any way to live from the moment he left Fengyu prison. Therefore, the moment he appeared behind him, he directly infused his mana into the long sword of the fierce soldiers, making Tianlai the prey of the long sword of the fierce soldiers. He believed that the fierce soldiers' appetite for long sword might be tricky, but a mountain man at the top of the sky would certainly make it move. Now the answer is to confirm his guess. No, please, spare me. I didn't do anything bad to your parents. I didn't even know that. Yu Tianli's panic had reached the extreme level, especially when he raised his hand and saw that his hands had become skin and bone in a short time. His skin had completely lost its luster, and his whole body was haunted by a kind of fatigue that he had never experienced since he became a mountain man. That kind of fear made him feel more helpless. The sky cried for mercy. The elder asked for mercy from this man. This word sent out that those Taiyi disciples who had hoped for Tianli just felt as if they had been suddenly doused with a basin of cold water. In the twinkling of an eye, those little flames of hope that had not been easy to produce were completely extinguished. And this time, that hope, there is no possibility of resurgence. You may not have done it, but if you want to blame it, it's because you are the supreme elder of Tian. Yi Tian is indifferent, and his magic power surges to magnify the evil spirit in the fierce sword. In a moment, Yu Tianli, who looks like a giant of heaven, turns into a cloud of fly ash that dissipates with the wind. As he said, Yu Tianli may indeed have nothing to do with the death of his parents. Judging from the style of Tian, you can imagine that Yu Tianli will not be a clean man. What's more, the leader of Taiyi sect is supported by Yu Tianli, so he dares to be so unscrupulous and regard people's lives like weeds. The elder is dead. It's over, my Taiyi gate is completely over. Tianji Peak is not his opponent. Who is he? This strange and terrible scene made the disciples of Ying Taiyi tremble. They only felt that the world in front of them had become gray, and there was no color to speak of. The despair in their heart was like ashes that could not be revived. You three will die, too. At this time, Yi Tian ignores the shrill voice, and looks at the leader of Taiyi sect and the other two Tianji later. With a word of indifference, he immediately appears in front of the three of them. The flying sword is light, and immediately there is another cloud of blood. He flies from the neck of the three who are deeply frightened and have no time to make any response. Abandon cultivation, kneel down, live, rebel, die. Immediately, Yi Tian glanced at the remaining members of Taiyi sect in the hall. Every word seemed like death, sending out a June order to the world. We are willing to abandon our accomplishments. Please give us a way to live. From now on, we are willing to be an ordinary person and have nothing to do with Tian. Please show mercy. Please give me a way to live. We are willing to abandon our accomplishments and make a new face from now on. After a word fell, the rest of the Taiyi men, regardless of their accomplishments, looked at each other and shot them down in the dantian. Then they knelt down in front of Yi Tian like ants worshipping gods. Their heads were buried on the ground, and they did not dare to meet Yi Tian. Go down the mountain. Leaf Day indifferently kneels in front of his body that a large black grand head, indifferently sneer, light way. Thank you for sparing my life. Thank you for your kindness. We will never forget it. From now on, I will change my mind and be a new man. After a word fell, those Tianmen disciples immediately felt amnesty and kowtowed to Yi Tian several times. A large number of people did not dare to hesitate, just like the tide of breaking the dike, and ran down the mountain. This scene, not to mention the past, even just a few hours ago, is absolutely beyond the imagination of these Tianmen. In the past, one of the 3 sects and 6 sects was invincible. When one of the most common disciples went out, he felt superior. But now, one of the disciples, like a lost dog, ran away one by one, hating his parents for 2 legs. Yi Tian walks towards the front, and Taiyi Gate is destroyed. Naturally, the treasure house here has become ownerless. If he didn't take it away, wouldn't it be in vain? A few minutes later, led by a trembling disciple, Yi Tian came to the secret library of Tianmen. Before he opened the secret library, he waved his hand and let the Tianmen disciple roll away. A base of Tiangong can make people reap a lot. Taiyi Gate has been among the people on the mountain for so many years. There must be more treasures in this secret library than Tiangong's base. When Yi Tian stepped into the secret library, his mind suddenly dispersed, and his eyes were full of hope. The secret storehouse of Tianmen is divided into 3 layers. The first layer is the weapons storehouse, in which there are all kinds of cold shining weapons. The method of refining utensils is too bad. These precious materials are wasted, but they can be recycled. Yi Tian is not interested in the things in the armory. He casually selects several weapons of good material. After he receives the storage ring, he goes to the second level of the Dan medicine warehouse. He hopes that the collection of Tian pills can help him find a chance to break through the 7 levels of the cave.
Zuanlingden, de Lingden. There are 2 miraculous elixirs. This is Danma Lotus, Chicho Hailong, Shuilingkeo, Danyangwood.
As soon as Yi Tianyi enters the elixir storehouse, his eyes are immediately attracted by the dazzling array of herbs.
The disappointment brought by weapons and elixirs before is gone in a flash. Tian is one of the 6 schools of the 3 sections. The accumulation of the inside information is amazing. Tiangu's base in western Fujian can't be compared with it. There are countless kinds of miracles.
In a short time, Yi Tian found several kinds of materials for refining Cheiyuan Dan.
Chuyuan pill is the pill that practitioners need to break through the 8th floor of the cave from the 7th floor. Chuyuan pill is one of the washing exercises. Taking this pill can make the human body completely clear. It is the last time for the human body to cut bones and wash marrow. It's only a little bit short of Huangshue grass, so I can refine Chuyuan pill. After my cultivation has been completely stabilized on the 6th floor of the cave, I will seek to break through the 7th floor of the cave. Yi Tian glanced at the elixir, and his face was full of joy. Not only that, in addition to the materials needed to refine the Nirvana pill, he even found the Ganoderma lucidum growing in the heart of the earth and absorbing the aura of heaven and earth and the power of the earth fire from the pill storehouse of Tian. It has excellent efficacy, has the effect of restoring vitality, and is the main medicine for refining the Nirvana pill. Nirvana pill is the necessary medicine for practitioners to break through the 8 levels of the cave. In this way, the elixirs on the 7th floor and the 8th floor of the cave have been prepared, at least in terms of the main medicines that are hard to find. The next breakthrough will be much easier. Yi Tian's smile is all over his face, and his mind is running. He puts all the elixirs into the storage ring. It's the first time that Yi Tian's harvest has made his mouth radiant. He has a feeling that he is no longer short of cultivation resources. Go to the secret level and have a look. Immediately, Yi Tian steps towards the 3rd floor of the secret library. According to the previous Tian disciple, in this floor, there are some strange items and lingyu collected by Tian from some relics. 20 inferior Huoling jade. 10 inferior Shuailing jade. 5 Jin lingyu. When Yi Tian walked into the 3rd floor of the secret library, his mind immediately sensed a breath of spiritual power fluctuation from the box in the corner of the secret library. When he opened the box, he saw the jade of various colors in the wooden box, and his face was full of ecstasy. Lingyu is extremely precious on the earth. I'm afraid only Tian can accumulate so many lingyu. According to Yi Tian's estimation, it's probably the result accumulated by their generations. With 20 pieces of inferior Huoling jade, Yi Tian felt that he didn't need Cheiyuan Dan at all, so he could push his cultivation to the 7th floor of the cave. But soon, he gave up the idea. Lingyu is too precious on the earth. He used it to break through the 7 layers of the cave, which is the tyranny. Now he has almost prepared all the materials of Cheiyuan Dan, and his cultivation level is not stable, so there is no need to rush to break through the 7 levels of the cave. Moreover, Huolingyu is still used to absorb when breaking through the sea view, so that the mana can become a sea in Dan Tian, which is more cost-effective. After all, the aura on the earth is limited. Yi Tian doubts that with the rich aura of heaven and earth, when he breaks through the sea view, he can only open up a sea of mana as big as a grain of wheat, and there will be no tidal phenomena on the sea. But with 20 pieces of Huoling jade as a guarantee, the possibility of opening up a considerable sea of mana will increase a lot. These artifacts are. Immediately, Yi Tian saw that there were many antique objects in each position of the secret library. These things included broken censers, chapped brushes, broken inkstones, and even red censers with 2 legs missing. Although these objects seem very common, Yi Tian can take them from his body. Feel a very old breath. He felt that if he guessed correctly, these might be the relics left by the Earth's splendid cultivation civilization, but unfortunately, after a long time, the divinity of these things had disappeared, leaving only the most basic shape. The censer seems to have been smashed by one hand, the brush seems to have been cut off by a sword, the 2 legs of the Dan stove seem to have been smashed after some violent impact.
And when Yi Tian stares at these utensils to scan carefully, it is to pour out air conditioning, discovered a few unimaginable situations. Soon, he connected these situations with the fragments of the golden flying sword that he cast in the fierce soldier's flying sword. Is it true that there was an extremely brilliant cultivation civilization on the earth, but that civilization came to an end in a fierce battle, low-level practitioners were slaughtered, high-level practitioners left the earth, leaving only some incomplete secrets, and because of the war, it damaged the root of the earth, leading to its aura become so thin? Kunlun Palace God. Yi Tian scanned these broken vessels carefully, and finally found some broken handwriting on them. These characters are very old and belong to the bird-insect seal script. They are unpredictable. If it wasn't for the Chinese hieroglyphics that come down in one continuous line, Yi Tian would not be able to recognize them. Are these utensils from Kunlun? I don't know if it has something to do with the return to the market in Kunlun Mountain mentioned by the police officer last time. If you have a chance, you should go to Kunlun. Maybe you can find some truth of the past in the place that is rarely touched by people. Yi Tian's eyes changed, and he made a decision in his heart. As a Chinese, he knows very well that Kunlun has always held a very high position in the hearts of the Chinese people. The first holy mountain of China, the Queen Mother of the West, the vein of the ancestral dragon, all these are inseparable from Kunlun. If we say that there really existed an extremely splendid Xiuzhen civilization on Earth, Kunlun may be the last relic of this civilization. Overseas immediately, Yi Tian thought of the overseas Lingchong sect. In ancient China, there have always been legends of fairy mountains, such as Panglai, Fangsuan, and Yingzhou. Perhaps, overseas, there are also the contents of the original truth. Even at this moment, he has some doubts in his heart that the reason why the practitioners in Fangsuan spirit realm who are suspected to be related to the dark turmoil choose to come to Earth may also be related to these secrets. A moment later, Yi Tian shook his head, put these broken utensils into the storage ring, and then cleared his mind. This is tame and even has this thing. A moment later, Yi Tian opened a brocade box on the wooden shelf of the secret library. When he saw the small golden foil in the brocade box, he couldn't help looking back. He immediately took out the golden foil that Mandala had stolen from the prisoner from the storage ring. He found that the two materials were the same, which obviously belonged to the same entity. The only pity is that these two pieces of gold foil are obviously not closely linked, but there is still something missing in the middle. Therefore, the trend charts of mountains and rivers on the two cannot be compared. However, similar to the golden foil of Prisoner of Heaven, there is also a strange grimace pattern on the golden foil. And Yi Tian counts up, this is the third item that he gets to appear grimace. The brocade box is the last thing in the third layer of the secret library. After Yi Tian put it in the storage ring, he scanned around and confirmed that there was really nothing worthy of his attention in the secret library. Then he turned and left. Immediately, he came to the Danfang of Tai Gate according to the breath of aura fluctuation. As soon as his magic power turned, the ground fire of Danfang was completely excited. In an instant, red flames sprang up. In the blink of an eye, Ying building of Tai Gate was engulfed in the raging fire. All the splendor that once existed here, and all the dirt that was hidden, were burned by the fire. Taemin no longer exist. Dad, Mom, I've cut the enemy with my hand. You can rest in peace under the 9 springs. Yi Tian's sword stood in the sky, staring at the burning fire below. After a long time, he murmured, and along the corner of his eyes, 2 drops of tears fell. After a long time, the flying sword suddenly disappeared in the sky with Yi Tian. From now on, he has no regrets except Ningyao. After leaving Taemin, returned to Minxi. On the way of Yi Tian's departure, a storm like shocking news suddenly swept all the great hermit families. The Taemin sect was destroyed. The supreme elder at the peak of Tianji was killed. All the 6 Tianji were slaughtered in the later period. The resistors were bloody. The rest of the disciples were abandoned and scattered. The Taemin sect was completely destroyed by fire and became history. This news is like a bolt from the blue. Everyone who hears this news feels that his head is buzzing. There is a terrible dizziness in his brain. His first reaction is, this is not true, this is a rumor. But when the picture of the broken mountain gate of Taigate, covered by raging fire, appeared in front of people's eyes, all of them completely confirmed that the clan gate, which had been among the people on the mountain for hundreds of years, had turned into a dust in the long river of history. From then on, it became 3 schools and 5 schools. Such an event is definitely one of the most shocking events among the mountain people in the past few hundred years, and there is no one. Yi Tian. And Yi Tian's name, along with the storm, swept into the ears of everyone on the mountain. With one's own efforts, he destroyed one clan, slaughtered one of the highest level of heaven, and killed 6 of the later level of heaven. This kind of achievement is so dazzling that it makes people suffocate and tremble. If it wasn't for the fact that Tian had completely turned into ashes, and those Tian disciples' accomplishments were scattered, no one would dare to believe that Yi Tian would have achieved such a remarkable achievement by himself. But in addition to the shock, all the people on the mountain understand that the Sanzangliaman may indeed become the Sanzongman, but with Yi Tian's amazing achievements, it is more appropriate to change the Sanzangliaman into the Sanzongman for one person. Because Yi Tian's strength is equal to that of a sect. Moreover, I'm afraid it's second only to Qingming sect, even more than Qingming sect, ranking before the 3. After all, Lu Bufan's heaven-level peak has been recognized as the limit of cultivation by all mountain people. But now, Yi Tian can kill the heaven-level peak. Doesn't that mean that even Lu Bufan of Qingming sect was not Yi Tian's opponent in his heyday? When the uproar spread, everyone thought that the status of King Mingzong was in danger and would be shaken by Yi Tian. King Mingzong also released a more shocking news to the world. Lu Bufan, his cultivation had broken through the peak of heaven, and further, his name was congenital. Congenital. This news shocked all the people on the mountain to the point of no more. All the people on the mountain have always thought that heaven-level peak is the end of cultivation, but who can imagine that there is a congenital realm above heaven-level peak? Not only that, with the release of the news, Tian also released a video to prove it. In the video, Lu Bufan is fighting against a Tianji peak. When the two meet, Lu Bufan's figure disappears like a ghost. Immediately, he appears behind the Tianji peak, with a sword in the back of each other's heart. As long as he moves forward a little, he can take each other's life. This video is extremely shocking. Many people dig deeply to try to check whether there is the possibility of forgery in the video. But in the end, everyone comes to a shocking conclusion that the video is not forged, and Lu Bufan's strength has really surpassed the top of the sky, breaking through the congenital. This news has turned public opinion around. The name of 1 person, 3 schools, 5 schools has been changed to 3 schools, 1 person, 5 schools. However, no matter how the ranking order of the 1 person changes, no one on the mountain knows Xiao Yishan's name. Not only that, every sect even issued a June order, ordering its disciples not to easily engage in friction and conflict with the person named Yetian. If there is any friction and conflict, they should end it by themselves. Don't try to drag this sect into the mire. The mistake of Tian is absolutely something that no sect on the mountain would like to repeat. Congenital, this is the way to escape. Lu Bufan's realm is equivalent to the 6th floor of the cave. At the same time, in western Fujian, Yi Tian, holding Meng Fang's mobile phone, carefully watched the video of Lu Bufan defeating Tianji Peak, and immediately found that Lu Bufan should have used the Tuduan method, which can only be mastered by the 6th floor of the cave. It seems that the strange little world of Qingming sect really has some ways. Otherwise, Lu Bufan would never have broken through from the top of heaven to the 6th floor of the cave. Yi Tian makes up his mind. Once his cultivation has broken through the 7th floor of the cave, he goes to Qingming sect to have a look at the strange little world and see if it has anything to do with Qingming's blessed land. King Mingzong released this video. Obviously, they were afraid of you, Brother Yi, for your revenge on them, so they wanted to frighten you and maintain the supreme position of King Mingzong in the hearts of people on the mountain. Mengfang tells Yi Tian his judgment. Not bad. Yi Tian nodded. When he saw the video, his judgment was similar to that of Mengfang. Then he looked at Mengfang with a smile and said, Brother Meng, I have a proposal. I don't know if you would like to join my temple? Miluo Palace? This is the clan you intend to create, Brother Yi? Mengfang looks at Yi Tian bewildered, but his heart is full of ups and downs, vaguely giving birth to a speculation. Yes, it's located in the south of the Yangtze River.
Now it's under construction. It's the sect I want to create. Yi Tian didn't hide anything, nodded with a smile, and then said, Brother Meng, you don't have to think about gratitude. Whether you want to join or not, just follow your heart. Even if you don't join, I won't think much about it. I'm in.
Meng lowered his head, pondered a little, then raised his head, looked at Yi Tian blazing, nodded. Although the Miluo Palace is just a start-up, he believes that the presence of Yi Tian, the great Buddha, will be extraordinary in the future.
Moreover, in determining the peak of heaven level, it will not be the end of cultivation.
On top of that, there are Xianhou. Mengfang is already the beginning of his life, and whether he can reach this realm in his lifetime. And he believes that his chance to break through the innate, perhaps the same as breaking through the sky level, will fall on Yi Tian.
Well, thank you, Brother Meng.
The Leaf Day hears a speech, joyful a smile, blunt to cover to put arch hand.
The accident of Qin Luo God's plane also sounded an alarm for Yi Tian. He felt that the cultivation of the people who arranged to protect Qin Luo God was too low, but the promotion of cultivation could not be achieved overnight. Now, with the addition of Mengfang, Qin Luoshan's security level can be greatly improved. In this way, no matter what he does, he can rest assured. After all, no one is willing to provoke a talent rashly. In addition, they annihilated Taiyiman, which sounded the alarm for the remaining 3 sects in 5 sections.
Before they moved Qin Luoshan, they had to weigh carefully to see whether their own sects were ready to bear their anger and follow Taiyiman's footsteps. This is the plan for the construction of the Miluo Palace. Take back the golden cash, and the construction of the Miluo Palace will be handed over to you. Immediately, Yi Tian released a large number of gold dollars from the storage ring, which she got from the Tiangong base, and handed a construction drawing to Qin Luoshan, who asked her to use it as the capital and blueprint for the construction of the Miluo Palace. Hiss. Boxes of brilliant gold appear at first. Even though Qin Luoshan and Mengfang have seen the world, they are still shocked by the dazzling brilliance, and they haven't recovered for a long time. According to their estimation, I'm afraid that this batch of funds will be in the tens of figures and will be calculated on the basis of 1 billion. Mengfang, in particular, couldn't understand how Yi Tian made such a large amount of gold out of thin air. But the more incredible Yi Tian is, the more determined Mengfang is to follow Yi Tian.
Ding-ling-ling at this moment, Yi Tian's mobile phone suddenly beeps. He takes it up and looks at it. He finds that it's Yan Bing's phone and connects it quickly. After 2 simple sentences, he hangs up the phone. Then he looks at Qin Luoshan and says in a deep voice, There is a big fog in the open sea of the South China Sea, in which there is an island shadow like a mirage. The mirage should open in these 2 days. They told me to go back as soon as possible. The mirage is opening again?
Mengfang heard Yi Tian's words, and his face couldn't help showing a touch of nostalgia.
Brother Meng, have you ever entered a mirage?
Yi Tian smells speech, can't help to put to be stunned to see one eye.
Well, that was 30 years ago.
At that time, I was just in the early stage of Xuanji. It was also that mirage trip that made me get a frost Ganoderma by chance, and then I had the possibility to break through the prefecture level and achieve the peak of prefecture level. In fact, many of the old men who visited Mirage in those days are only at the prefecture level. That trip to Mirage was the first great turning point of my destiny. Mengfang nodded in memory and said slowly. But he didn't say a word. If the Mirage trip is the first great turning point of his life, then knowing Yi Tian is the second great turning point of his fate. If there is no Yi Tian, the end of his cultivation in this life will be the peak of the prefecture level. Until he goes to the earth, he may not be able to break through the heaven level.
Frosty Ganoderma lucidum.
Yi Tian's eyes changed slightly when he heard the sound.
Frost Ganoderma lucidum is a kind of elixir to broaden the elixir field.
Even if it is placed in the square-inch spiritual domain, it is a rare good thing. If it is used as medicine, refining Huadan can maximize the efficacy, and make the monks in the cave who have set foot on the road of cultivation more likely to break through the golden elixir in the future than those who have not taken it. Don't worry, I won't go for long this time, and I'm going to have winter vacation soon. When the time comes, I'll go to Jiangnan to find you and take you to my classmates' home for a walk. After that, Yi Tian's remaining light glimpses Qin Luoshan's face with a color of loss. Knowing that she is not willing to leave by herself, he holds her hand and says with a soft smile. Winter vacation. Although Meng Fong already knew that Yi Tian was a sophomore, every time he heard this, he felt absurd. A young man who is only a sophomore has already been at the peak of cultivation. With his own strength, he can destroy a sect and refine 3 kinds of pills. If you don't see and experience all this with your own eyes, who can believe it is true? But the more so, the more people hope that at this age, they will have such extraordinary cultivation strength.
If in time, Yi Tian's cultivation level will reach an amazing level. Well, it's a deal, but promise me to be careful. Although Qin Luoshan didn't give up, after the plane crash and the experience of going to the Baihua Valley, he also understood that cultivation was the capital to settle down. Moreover, if he didn't have to go, Yi Tian would be reluctant to leave her. Okay, don't worry. It's over. As soon as winter vacation comes, I'll go to Jiangnan. Yi Tian nodded with a smile, then looked at Meng Fong and said, Brother Meng, God Luo, please take more care of him. Don't worry, master. My subordinates will do their best to protect my wife. Meng Fong's unthinkable Xuan So Baoquan response, and the name of Yi Tian has also changed. Yi Tian Ben wanted him to change his words, but looking at Meng Fong's awe, he didn't correct anything. By his name, at least the title of palace leader sounds more agreeable than Meng Fong's elder. At the end of the greetings, Yi Tian went to the high-speed railway station in Qinluoshan and Mengfong, and turned back to the South China Sea. The vitality of the South China Sea has changed again. When he went to the high-speed railway, Yi Tianli keenly felt that the tidal surge-like feeling in the aura of Nanhai City has become more powerful than before. Not only that, he also felt that there was a point on the distant sea that led to the tidal surge of aura. Yi Tian, are you back? Mirage has appeared. Master and I are at the dock. Some people have gone to sea ahead of time. At this time, Yi Tian's mobile phone rings and Yan Bing's phone calls. Okay, I'll be right there. Yi Tian responded and took a taxi to Nanhai Wharf. At this moment, when the sun was setting, the afterglow was all over the sky, and the sea turned into a red sea of blood. In front of the sea, there is a thick white fog. In the fog, there is the rudiment of an island. Countless people gathered at the seaside, taking pictures of the island, shouting Mirage. The source of aura is there. Yi Tian's divine thoughts spread out. After a little perception, he found that the starting point of heaven and earth aura fluctuation in Nanhai City was just from the location of the island in the fog. Yi Tian, this way, come here quickly. At this time, along not far away, came the call of Yan Bing. When Yi Tianxuan went there, he immediately saw Yan Bing standing on the deck of a yacht not far away. On the yacht, there were many people, and each of them had the smell of mountain people. Without hesitation, Yi Tian quickly boarded the ship. Just hear Yi Tian 2 words, all people's eyes are involuntarily toward Yi Tian sweep. But when they saw his face, they turned their heads to one side. At that time, the people of Taemin had no time to take photos of Yi Tian, and now the news is so complicated that no one knows that Yi Tian who destroyed Taemin is Yi Tian of Nanhai. That's why people in these mountains want to be able to destroy one of the most powerful people in the clan. Even if they are not old people with white hair, they have to be at least middle-aged. There is no possibility that they will be a young man. Boy, kill Yi Tian of Tai Gate. Seeing the eyes of the people around him, Xiao Changchun quickly pulls Yi Tian to his side and lowers his voice. Not me. Yi Tian shook his head and said. Some things, some people know, there is no need to publicize all over the world. Who if not I've heard that some sects have begun to discuss and are ready to work together to deal with the boy and find out his secret. When Xiao Changchun heard this, he took a long breath and slapped Yi Tian heavily on the shoulder. He told him, I've entered a mirage once. I can't go with you this time. Boy, you should take care of Bing girl for me. If she has any problems, I can't spare you. I'll bring her out safely. Yi Tian didn't say so much, but nodded to Xiao Changchun. But Xiao Changchun's words sounded the alarm for him. He killed the Tai sect, which really shocked the other 3 sects in 5 sections. However, those people were afraid, but they would not covet it. However, for these things, Yi Tian is not worried.
Those guys had better pray that they don't do it, otherwise, he will let them understand how to write the 4 words repentance. When Xiao Changchun heard this, he was relieved. To visit Mirage is really not as important as the word peace. These are some routes I used to take after I entered the Mirage. It may help if you keep them away. After that, Xiao Changchun takes out a map and hands it to Yi Tian. Yi Tian unfolds and takes a glance. He finds that Xiao Changchun's map is much more crude than that of the blind old man or Shangwan Jinhong. Remember, no matter how good things you see, you can only bring one out. In addition, if there is fog on the island, don't get close to it, otherwise you will be worried about your life being swallowed by the mirage. Of course, in addition to mirage fog, it's the people around you who should pay more attention to it. But it's more dangerous than mirage fog. Xiao Changchun exhorted that he would not leave the yacht until the siren sounded. Put away this map. I've written down the route. I don't need to take it anymore. When Xiao Changchun leaves, Yi Tian takes out the map from Shangwan Jinhong and hands it to Yan Bing. Yan Bing knows that Yi Tian has the ability to never forget, so he doesn't refuse anything. He takes it and puts it in his pocket. Woo-woo, with the sound of the siren, the yacht pulled out of the dock and headed for the sea. A ship in the lead, like blood on the sea, cut out countless small blood ripples. Yi Tian. After the ship left, Yan Bing, standing at the bow of the ship, glanced at Yi Tianxia, lowered his voice and said slowly, "Is it really not you who destroyed Tai Gate?" "It's me." Yi Tian didn't hide it anymore, but nodded frankly. "Hiss, it's really you. How did you just tell Master?" Yan Bing was stunned, but he took a breath of cold air and was immediately confused. Some things, some people just know. Yi Tian chuckles a light way. As he said, Yan Bing is careless, but she has a tight tongue. After so long contact, Yi Tian knows that Yan Bing is a trustworthy person, so it's okay to tell her the truth. It's really him who killed Taemin. Yan Bing heard Yi Tian's light words, and completely determined the truth of the matter. Because as far as she knows about Yi Tian, this guy won't make fun of such a big thing. Just, this truth, is really too frightening. Let her can't help looking up and down at Yi Tian, head buzzing. For such a huge thing as Taemin, Yi Tian, with his own strength, said that he would be destroyed. For such a super strong person as Tianji Peak, Yi Tian, with his own strength, said that he would be killed. This guy, how advanced is his cultivation now? When I saw him for the first time, his strength was not so strong. In such a short time, how did he improve so many accomplishments? But at the same time of shock, Yan Bing can't help but feel some joy in her heart. Yi Tian didn't hide the truth from her, which shows that Yi Tian trusts her very much. Yi Tian. But just then, a middle-aged man walked out of the yacht. When he saw Yetian, he was surprised. When he saw Yan Bing beside Yetian, his face suddenly sank. Yi Tianxuan, who can call himself besides Wen Chang? I'll wait for you in the cabin first. Yan Bingqiao looks at Wen Chang and approaches Yi Tian. With a gentle smile, he goes to the cabin. Yi Tian, come here. Wen Chang sees this and looks more and more displeased. Kanjishan, whose face is as gloomy as water, beckons. I'm afraid it was misunderstood. Yi Tian had no choice but to walk in the past. Yi Tian, who was that girl just now? Wen Chang and other Yi Tian come near, which is a direct question. A friend of mine made an appointment to explore the mirage together. Yi Tian too is as big as dough, but he still answers. I see. When Shengguan heard the sound, and then he was slightly relieved. After looking at Yan Bing's back, he said, since we want to be together, we can go together. After saying that, Wen Sheng nervously looks at Yi Tian to see what attitude he will have. Yes. Yi Tian nodded at will. When Wen Sheng sees this, he thinks that there should be nothing wrong between Yi Tian and Yan Bing. It's just a simple friendship. Otherwise, Yi Tian won't cooperate like this. His gloomy face will ease down. I don't mean anything else, just 3 people together, can take care of more. In the Mirage, when it comes to the degree of adventure, whether it's Mirage fog or some unique fierce animals on the island, it's far less than the fighting among people on the mountain. Immediately after that, Wen Sheng feels that his attitude is a little stiff, and his tone becomes more relaxed. He finds a reason for himself to go with Tian.
Mirage fog? Tian frowned and looked at Wen Chang with some doubts.
This is the second time that he has heard the name, and whether it is Zhou Changchun who has entered a mirage or Wen Chang who has never entered a mirage, the word mirage fog is mentioned in awe. Mirage fog is the fog on the island.
As the name suggests, this kind of fog is like a whale. No matter who or what is covered by it, it will be swallowed up without a trace.
Since the appearance of the mirage, the people on the mountain who died in the mirage have no idea. Among them, many young talents who had been given high hopes by the clan. When Qingwen, with a deep awe in his eyes, said slowly to Tian, "This mirage fog is a bit strange." The Leaf Day hears speech, the vision slightly changes, in the heart can't help but a little bit curious. Big Sex Wolf. But at this time, along the side of the deck, suddenly came the voice of Mu Qingqing Delicate. Yi Tianquan immediately sees that Yunfei and Mu Qingqing are on the yacht, and beside them stands a girl who is totally unexpected to him. After seeing him, the girl's eyes suddenly became very complicated, with hatred, love, resentment and confusion. Finally, the girl slowly turned her head to one side and looked towards the vast sea, as if she was escaping something. This girl, in addition to Yi Tian want to come, is in KTV head manager Su Qing, which can be. At the same time, when Chang hears the sound and follows Yi Tian's eyes to look forward. When he sees three girls with different styles, one is more beautiful than the other, and then he looks at Yen Bing in the rear. When she finally falls on Yi Tian, her eyebrows turn into a big knot in one's heart, just in such a short time, for girls who seem to have no clear relationship with Yi Tian came out. My future son-in-law seems to be a bit of a flower. How does Su Qing get together with Yunfei and Mu Qingqing? And on the ship to the Mirage? Yi Tian's eyebrows are slightly wrinkled, and his heart is full of doubts. He doesn't find the difference of Wen Chang. Yi Tian, come here. At this time, after looking at the endless sea for a moment, Su Qing turned around and looked at Yi Tian Dao. Hearing the sound, Yi Tian nods to Wen Chang and goes to Su Qing. Start in disorder and end in abandonment, Big Sex Wolf. When Yi Tian passes by Mu Qingqing's side, the little girl grunts 2 times. It seems that Yi Tian is very uncomfortable. Yi Tian knows that his image in this little girl's heart has been filthy to the point where it can't be further improved. He doesn't explain anything anymore. He ignores her, but goes to Su Qing's side. When Chang listens to these words and frowns continuously. He wants to pull Yi Tian over and ask him to understand. However, due to his identity, he has to go back to the cabin first and plans to ask Yi Tian to understand later. Are you going to set foot on the road of cultivation, become a mountain man, and take revenge for your father? After walking to Su Qing's side, Yi Tian holds the railing and calms down. I want to make myself strong. I want to make myself free from being bullied by anyone. Of course, I want to avenge my father. Su Qing clenched the powder fist, word by word, the voice is complex. The road of practice can really make people stronger, but it's also hard. I didn't want you to go this way. I want you to have a peaceful life. But since you choose, I hope you can fulfill your wish. Of course, when it comes to revenge, I will forgive you 3 times. Yi Tian nodded, calm. Su Qing's words just now have made him understand the reason why Su Qing embarked on the road of cultivation. It seems that KTV is too exciting for her. She doesn't want to be bullied anymore and hopes to be looked up to like herself. For this kind of state of mind, Yi Tian feels that there is nothing wrong with it. After all, except for some mountain people who were born in the patriarchal clan and whose cultivation is a natural choice, for most people who go on the cultivation road the day after tomorrow, they just hope to become stronger and not be bullied. At the beginning, he was in the square-inch spirit realm. As for longevity, as well as the hope to see a further landscape, that is the mind of people who are almost at the end of the road of cultivation. One day, I will surpass you. Su Qing stares at Yi Tian's eyes. After a deep voice, he turns and walks to the cabin. Yi Tian did not say much, but a smile. It's too difficult for Su Qing to surpass him. To be exact, there should be no possibility of any realization. I'm sorry, Mr. Yi. I'm good at making an opinion without telling you about it. At this time, Yunfei goes to Yi Tian, looks at the direction of Su Qing's departure, and says, only, she knelt down in the hotel building for 3 days and 3 nights, and did not drop rice and water.
This perseverance is moving.
I can only accept apprentices on behalf of my teacher. Yi Tian was stunned when he heard the news.
In his mind, he could not help thinking of Su Qing kneeling downstairs in the hotel, regardless of wind and rain, day and night.
At this time, Yunfei looked at Yi Tian with deep meaning and said slowly, however, Su Qing's constitution is really suitable for cultivation. He has just stepped on the road of cultivation, and now he is in the middle of the yellow class. It's the body of the cauldron. It's natural for us to enter the country quickly. Yi Tian instantly understood the meaning of Yunfei's deep vision, and then said calmly, you take her to the road of cultivation, and let her become a mountain person. I don't object to that, but I have a word. I hope you can tell your master that I don't want to find out one day that she has become someone else's cauldron. In that case, you will regret it. When he came back to the earth from Fengsuan spiritual realm, he saw Su Qing at the first sight. Su Qing is a perfect cauldron body, with yin and yang harmonizing, and the road of cultivation is smooth. When she is successful in her cultivation and combines with others, she can help them break through. However, there is Ning Yao in Yi Tian's heart. He is not interested in these things and has never mentioned them.
In the past, Su Qing was not a mountain dweller, so it didn't matter if he didn't have a cauldron.
But now, she has become a mountain people. Furnisting body for her is a blessing, but also a disaster.
Yi Tian doesn't want this to become a disaster for Su Qing.
He has no feelings for Su Qing, but the life under the eaves also makes him feel a little more sympathy for Su Qing. He doesn't want to see that this girl with a similar fate will have a more tragic experience.
Mr. Yi, what do you mean? Yunfei's delicate brow is slightly wrinkled. She thinks that Yi Tian regards Su Qing as a forbidden vessel.
If she wants to use Su Qing's cauldron, it can only be used by him. Don't think about those who have or don't have. I'm not interested in her cauldron body, and I don't need this method to improve my cultivation. The Leaf Day one I then saw through Cloud Fei's mind, light way.
Mr. Yi, excuse me for asking, what is the relationship between you and Su Qing? Yunfei hears the sound, slightly relieved, and then looks at Yi Tianxuan curiously and asks.
She thinks that the reason why Su Qing chose to become a mountain dweller should be related to Yi Tian. On this matter, she once asked Su Qing, but unfortunately, Su Qing refused to say a word more, and she did not ask more.
We are enemies, blood feuds, the kind of endless death. Yi Tian didn't hide anything and replied calmly. Yunfei is stunned.
For the first time, there is more confusion on the face that seems to be detached from everything.
Since Yi Tian is a foe with deep blood feud, why does he care if Su Qing becomes someone else's cauldron?
Normally speaking, the enemy should be very happy when he meets such a situation, but Yi Tian even warns himself. This man is really weird, maybe one day, she will tell you.
Yi Tian didn't explain anything, light way. Mirage, look, you can see a clear mirage.
Oh, my God, what a spectacle.
There is an island out of thin air. How can there be such a mysterious thing in the world?
But just then, along the other parts of the yacht, there was a sudden scream. Yi Tian and Yunfei, hearing the sound, turn around and look in the direction of the crowd. As their eyes passed by, they immediately saw that the shadow of the island had become more and more real in the distant sea covered by thick fog. Not only that, the altitude of the island is also very high, but also because it is located on the sea and looks like a smooth river, it adds a sense of magnificence, making people feel that the yacht they are riding is just like a corn in the sea in front of the island. On the yacht, everyone was staring at the island, hoping to see the situation. It's not too clear to see the clouds, but it can be seen that there are mountains and dense forests on the island, and it seems that there are still creatures active.
Not only that, there are also some buildings in the mountains.
I don't know what kind of materials they are made of, but they are shining with blurred light. They look very beautiful, not to mention grand and majestic, which can be called uncanny craftsmanship. All this is just like Panglai and Ingzhou Fairy Island in mythology and legend.
The island is changing.
It is still a virtual shadow. Both the island and the creatures in the island are experiencing a process from illusion to entity. Incredible. Yi Tianyun had enough eyesight to gaze ahead, and soon found a strange situation. From illusion to substance. Even if Tian had been practicing Taoism and Fengsuan Lingyu for 200 years, he had been to many strange places, but this scene still made him feel an eye-opener. Similarly, the unusual nature of the island also made him feel that there must be a lot of good fortune on this island that he has been dreaming of.
Bang! And just then, the yacht suddenly shook violently.
Immediately after that, there was no waves at all. The color of the clear sea suddenly became a little black, and along the water, there were layers of turbulent waves, which made the yacht wobble.
What is this underwater? There's something under the water. God, why is it so big?
At this time, people on both sides of the ship's side suddenly pointed to the water and gave out bursts of exclamations.
What's this? Leatherback?
Hearing this, Tian looked down, and immediately saw a dark shadow about 8 or 9 meters in size. On the back of the shadow, there were light yellow longitudinal edges. When he crossed the sea, it was like a sharp blade, shining with light cold light.
A uncivilized sea animal dare to compete with us.
Kill it, yes.
Kill it.
No matter its shell or claw, it's the best material for refining utensils. At this time, a few mountain people who were cultivated in the later stage of the prefecture level suddenly burst out, pulled out their weapons, operated the 5 elements Taoism, blessed the weapons, and then cut them heavily towards the leatherback turtle floating and sinking underwater.
No!
Tian sees this, in the heart immediately secret way and not good.
The leatherback's skin is rough and its flesh is thick.
Moreover, this leatherback is so big that it may have lived for hundreds of years at least, and the tenacity of the leatherback is unimaginable. I'm afraid that the means of these mountain people, instead of breaking its edge armor, will infuriate it. At that time, once the leatherback gets angry and collides with the yacht, it will sink the yacht and turn the people on board into a group of water ghosts.
Stop it, don't mess about. Damn it, you mad dogs. If there's an accident, I'll kill you first.
Not only Tian, but also other people thought of this joint and immediately drank heavily towards the prefecture level later stage. Unfortunately, when they spoke, it was too late. In the later stage of these prefectures, they used the incomplete 5 elements Taoist art to inject the weapon blade and cut the leatherback turtle by different means. For a moment, the sword gang and the sword chi roared and fell on the leathery turtle's back like raindrops, which caused countless waves.
Dead? After a long time, the sea was calm. A mountain man in the later stage of Xuanji looked at the sea. Wow!
But just at this time, along the sea, a dark shadow suddenly rushed out, followed, directly dragged the Xuanji into the sea. Just in the blink of an eye, a cloud of blood spread quickly on the sea.
Boom!
Then, along the bottom of the yacht, there was a violent crash, and the yacht seemed to come to the rough waves caused by the tsunami, swaying left and right, and almost did not turn into the bottom of the sea. And this violent impact, standing on the deck of the people, a staggering, stumbling. More than a few people, like dumplings, plopped from the deck into the sea.
Ah!
After falling into the water, without waiting for these people to make a few splashes, they let out bursts of shrill howls, and then along their bodies, there were large areas of blood spread out. Just in the blink of an eye, there is a strong smell of blood on the sea. The sea, which is slightly red because of the setting sun, now looks more like a real sea of blood.
Bang!
At the same time, Yunfei felt that as soon as he shook his feet, he would fall forward uncontrollably and plunge into the sea.
Shwa!
Seeing this, Tian holds the railings in one hand, takes a step forward quickly, and then reaches out to take Yunfei, who is about to fall into the sea, into his arms.
How soft! At the moment Yunfei enters his heart, Tian immediately feels that under the palm of his hand, it's warm and moist.
It's as soft as if there are no bones, and inexplicably makes people have an instinctive impulse to want 5 fingers to work.
This is... Tian's mind is awe-inspiring.
He looks down and finds out that his hand just happened to cover Yunfei's chest. Naturally, it goes without saying where the softness comes from. At the same time, Yunfei also found this abnormal, that originally like a fairy-like dust cheek, suddenly more a blush, toward Tian and shy and angry look. Tian sees this and is in a hurry to let go.
Boom! But at this time, the leatherback suddenly hit the yacht heavily.
The strength of the leatherback turtle was so strong that it couldn't be more powerful. The violent impact made the yacht soar into the air and fall heavily towards the front. In a flash, countless mountain people on the deck fell into the water one after another, and then the fierce leatherback turtles, like ruthless killers, swam quickly and crossed their bodies with sharp longitudinal edges on their backs. This leatherback turtle is obviously spiritual. The longitudinal edges on its back often seem to be polished in coral reefs. Its sharpness is no less than that of mountain people. As soon as they passed through their bodies, they directly opened up most of their bodies. Blood and internal organs rolled out like fountains, mixed into the sea, and rippled countless waves of blood. At the same time, Tian and Yunfei, who had just released their hands on the deck, also rose in the air under the fierce impact. As soon as Yunfei's body falls down, it will fall into the seawater. Tian sees this, and his 5 fingers suddenly pinch tightly, holding Yunfei tightly into his arms. Hiss! That strange and painful feeling, let Cloud Fei mouth, can't help but send out a low call. On her face like a dust fairy, there was more blush, and her ears were red. In her eyes, there were clouds, shame, annoyance, and a little ripple. This many emotions, together with her dusty temperament, that kind of contradiction, makes people almost crazy. I didn't mean to. I wanted to save you. After landing, Tian quickly let go, and then explained. Yunfei's cheek was red, but she couldn't speak. How can she not know that Tiangong's action, though shameful, is really saving her? Otherwise, at this moment, she is afraid that she has already fallen into the sea, buried in the leatherback turtle, which is comparable to the sharp longitudinal edge of the inferior lingding. Boom! At this time, the leatherback saw that he had not knocked over the yacht twice in succession. Instead, he swam quickly again. After pulling away, he helped to swim, and then hit the yacht like a shell. Creak creak. Under one blow, the yacht made mechanical friction sound, just like it was about to fall apart, and the whole hull fell to the right. Yet Ian and Yunfei's body, with the yacht in fall, 2 people's body close together, don't say, Yunfei that jouting hips, is just topping the yet legs. Tian's body is just as young as a wolf. It was a little unbearable when he was stimulated before. At the moment, the 2 people are stacked together. Naturally, there is no need to repeat their unbearable degree. Yunfei felt the strangeness behind her. Beiqi bit her red lips tightly. Her cheeks were so red that she was about to bleed. In her eyes, there was a wave of water, which was so moving that she couldn't get rid of it. This old turtle is really going to make trouble for me. Tian couldn't help thinking about it, but when he saw that the leatherback turtle was coming back and forth to the yacht like a sharp arrow, his expression was suddenly awe-inspiring. Without any hesitation, he said in a deep voice, water transportation. Boom! In a flash, along the palm of Tian's hand, a clear and transparent water ball appeared immediately, and then bombarded heavily on the sea. Wow! Under the huge impact, the yacht suddenly straightened out, and immediately the waves splashed, and the seawater fell on the hull like a rainstorm. In the blink of an eye, the cloud fell like a drowned chicken just fished out of the water. What's more, she is wearing a white skirt. When she is drenched in the water, she is as if she has nothing to wear. Large tracts of moving white and delicate flowers are blooming in front of Tian's eyes, which makes her eyes red and heart hot. Fortunately, at the moment, the people on board are in a mess. Except for Tian's eyes, no one notices the situation here. You put this outside first. Tian looks at Yunfei's embarrassed and confused appearance. He takes out a replacement black t-shirt from the storage ring and throws it to Yunfei. Although Cloud Fei doesn't know Leaf Day is from where to change out of this dress, but smell speech or hurriedly put clothes on the body. We must drive away the leatherback turtle, otherwise, we can't reach the mirage without flying with the sword. What's more, I'm afraid all the people on the ship will be killed. When Tian sweeps underwater and sees that leatherback is accumulating strength and preparing to launch an impact on the yacht, his eyes are suddenly awe-inspiring. Water transport. Water is invisible and all things are in sight. Then, with a low drink, he quickly pinched the Injua with both hands and swayed toward the sea while all the people on the yacht were worried about themselves. Wow! In a twinkling, along the sea surface, there are countless water drops surging up, quickly joining in the void. Zheng! In a flash, along the void in front of his palms, a short spear with thick arms suddenly appeared. The spear was transparent. Although it was made of water, it was cold at the point of the spear, which made people feel like penetrating the heaven and earth.
Complete 5-element magic.
It turns out that he is really a heart cultivator in the world of mortals. Yunfei looks at the short spear with water flowing in it. She forgets to put the black t-shirt on her body for a while. She just stares at Yi Tian and can't believe her eyes.
Prefecture level peak.
No, it's at least the beginning of the heaven level, or even the middle of the heaven level, that he can display such exquisite 5 elements magic. However, he is just a college student.
How can he have such high accomplishments? Is he an old monster under his tender face? Yi Tian, the one who destroyed Taemin, is the same as Yi Tian. Yunfei's mind changes, and an idea suddenly appears in her mind.
She just feels that Yi Tian, who is standing in front of her, is covered with a thick layer of fog, which makes it impossible to see clearly disease, and at this time, Yi Tian is already low to shout out a voice, then brazenly hand.
Shwa!
In a flash, the short spear of the water wave immediately stabbed the leatherback turtle under the sea like a sharp arrow. Although this short spear is made of water, it is more powerful than the real short spear. It shuttles under the water to the extreme, and the white water line it brings makes people feel chilly.
Whoa!
In a flash, the short spear brushed the body of the leatherback turtle. Although it didn't hit it, the powerful impact brought by it was that the leatherback turtle, which was 8 or 9 meters in size, rolled 5 or 6 times in the sea before it stopped. The leatherback turtle's body shape was fixed, and he looked at Yi Tian's position in horror.
Without any hesitation, he swayed all around and quickly moved to the mirage area. He did not dare to attack again. Finally, it's over.
When Yi Tian saw this, he was relieved. In fact, the water spear he just recorded can completely penetrate the skeleton of the leatherback turtle, but heaven has the virtue of living well. It's a pity that this leatherback turtle can live so long and grow so big in the sea area where the law of the jungle prevails.
It's not easy to kill it.
Besides, leatherback turtle is mild in character.
If it wasn't for these mountain people's provocation, it would not be angry and harassed.
Moreover, leatherback turtles are protected animals. There are not many leatherback turtles on the earth, let alone killing them.
Let's go. The leatherback is gone at last.
We're safe.
Ha ha ha, this beast, at last, knows what's going on. If we know it's causing trouble, we'll take off its shell.
I just saw a white line flying underwater.
This leatherback turtle seems to have been disturbed and left. Is it because there are some old monsters on our ship?
At this time, when other people on the yacht found that the wind was calm, there was a lot of noise immediately. Some people breathed a sigh of relief, some people boasted, and some sharp-eyed people found something strange.
Yi Tian, Elder Marshal's sister, you're okay.
That's great. At this time, Yin Bing, Wen Shang, Su Qing and Mu Qingqing come out of the cabin. When they see Yi Tian and Yunfei standing on the deck, they breathe a long sigh of relief, and then they speak in unison.
This girl, she cares about Yi Tian so much. This relationship seems to be more than just a friend.
Wen Shang can't help frowning when he hears Yin Bing's words. Although Su Qing didn't speak, he was relieved to see that Yi Tian was still alive. But when he heard Yin Bing's words, he was inexplicably lost.
It's just very dangerous. Master Yi saved me.
If it wasn't for him, I would have been overturned into the sea and killed by the leatherback turtle. Hearing this, Yunfei smiles at Mu Qingqing, then looks at Yi Tian and says, "Thank you, Mr. Yi, for saving your life."
"Thank you for your help."
Yi Tian casually waved his hand, looking a little embarrassed. Just now he did save Yunfei, but also let Yunfei bear a lot of unspeakable things.
I didn't expect that you, the big sex wolf, would be kind-hearted. It seems that I misunderstood you a little bit before.
Mu Qingqing hears the news and looks at Yi Tian in surprise. Then she looks at Yi Tian with some vigilance and says, "Big sex wolf, you are so bad that you can save my elder martial sister.
Don't you think it's because you want to see her beautiful and deliberately play this heroic means of saving beauty?" Xiaoqing, don't be rude to Mr. Yi.
Cloud Fei hears a sound, pretty cheek is tiny a red, then toward Mu Green sink away.
I just said it casually.
Mu Qingqing spat out her tongue, and then if she suddenly noticed something, her eyes changed and she said in amazement, what do you call this big sex wolf, Elder Marshall's sister? Senior not only is Mu Qingqing, when Chang also heard the words of Cloud Fei, the same face do different color. As far as he can see, this girl, Yinfei, has been practicing in the later stage of Xuanji since she was very young, and she is definitely a disciple of the same family in terms of appearance and breadth. Such a person, arrogant, but now, she even called Yi Tian the Elder. Moreover, he clearly remembers that not long ago, Yunfei called Yi Tian Mr. Yi. It was only after experiencing the attack of Leatherback Turtle that she changed her name to Mr. Yi. This kind of change, was it just when Leatherback Turtle retreated that it had something to do with Yi Tian? The mirage is completely formed. Speed up! Speed up! Our fortune is ahead. But at this moment, along the deck, suddenly came a shout. Yi Tian hears the sound, looks up, and immediately sees that the towering and incomparable island in front of him has completely changed from a semi-illusory state into reality. Among the clouds and fog, the whole island radiates a sacred atmosphere, and the situation on the island is no longer psychedelic, but more and more prosperous. Not only that, Yi Tian also found that there were many damaged fields on the island. With his eyesight, we can conclude that there must have been all kinds of weather here. Of course, in this case, the people on the boat can't see it through. Boom boom at this time, the yacht has begun to accelerate, quickly close to the island. A moment later, it has passed through the fog, and finally stopped on a beach. Look there, what a magnificent mountain gate! As soon as the yacht came ashore, people on the mountain called. Not only these people, but Yi Tian also saw a magnificent mountain gate not far from the beach. The thick white jade pillars towered into the sky, just like a giant supporting the sky. Although they were full of all kinds of experiences of wind, frost, rain and snow attack, as well as the rupture of blade attack, they still showed the past glory to the world. This pillar was once a complete piece of Lingyu. It's just that time is too long, or someone once mobilized all the powers in it, so the aura dissipated, leaving only such an ordinary white jade shell. Mirage, here I am again. This time, I will never miss the luck on the island again. I will witness the glory here. At this time, in the bow of the deck, there was a mountain man at the top of the Xian class, with a crazy look on his face. After a loud roar, he jumped up and rushed to the beach ahead. Isn't Mirage only one entry? How could this person come here for the second time? Yi Tian was stunned by the sound. Boom! At this time, the Xuanji peak was about to fall on the beach, but just as he was approaching, a layer of ripples appeared in the air above the beach, and then bombarded the Xuanji peak heavily. Wow! They just touched each other. The Xuanji peak didn't have time to resist. The whole body turned into a big blood mist and fell on the beach. The whole yacht became dead and silent in a moment when the strong blood came. Many mountain people, who had been looking forward and ecstatic, now looked awe-inspiring, with more vigilance and fear in their eyes. Mirage, maybe it's really lucky. But there is no doubt that, in addition to fortune, there are countless dangers. Once you break some of the rules that exist here, what you are waiting for will be like this Xuanji peak. There is no place to die. I'll go first. After a little silence, one of the prefecture-level officials made a sound at the beginning, then jumped down on the beach. Obviously, this man came to the Mirage for the first time. After landing, there was no abnormality, so he quickly rushed to the mountain gate. Seeing this, Yi Tian jumped up and landed on the beach steadily. However, he was not in a hurry to move forward. Instead, he spread his mind and explored carefully. As far as his mind could reach, he felt that the island was a space of its own, just like a piece of pure divine land. Not only that, he also felt that there was a strange fluctuation on the island, weak but extremely strong. In a flash, Yi Tian came to the conclusion in his heart, this island has great fortune, but also great terror. Just as Yi Tian thought about it, a shrill scream came suddenly along the beach. What's this? Mirage fog. Yi Tianxuan went to see that there was a light gray fog on the empty beach. A mountain man happened to be in the area where the fog appeared. At the moment of contact, the fog seemed to have a strange attraction. Just for a moment, it pulled the famous mountain man into the fog. The fog looks like a thin water mist, but it's strange that no matter how hard the mountain man who was swallowed up by the fog struggled, he could not get rid of it.
Not only that, the fog is not only thick as mud, but also with a strange phagocytic power. Moreover, this phagocytic power seems to be aimed at Shoyuan of this mountain man. In less than a minute, the mountain dweller quickly aged with the speed visible to the naked eye. His black hair had become black and white mottled, and his bare skin began to lose its elasticity and luster, and countless ferocious wrinkles like rotten wood appeared. That kind of appearance, people feel like the flow of time, in this mountain people's body, instantly accelerated 1,000 times the same. Help me please, help me. The man on the mountain kept struggling and asked for help from the people around him. Only a few voices went on. Even his voice was full of vitality from the beginning, and became weak and powerless. But in this situation, the surrounding mountain people were dare to get close to the sense, one by one constantly toward the area without fog to avoid. Field array? No, there is no breath of field array in the mirage fog. It is more like a kind of life. At the same time, Tian explores the mirage with his mind. To his surprise, from the mirage, he didn't feel the breath of half-field array. Instead, he felt a terrible breath like a wild beast. And just after this short video, the mountain man has changed from gray head to white hair, the whole person has become old, even the teeth have begun to fall off, and finally, all the vitality completely dissipated. With this change, the fog gradually began to disappear, just like the hunting beast. After a successful attack, he would hide, accumulate strength, wait for the opportunity, and prepare for the next fierce attack. In order to got into the mirage fog, explore. Tian mood changes, while the mirage fog is about to dissipate, only a half-wisp of the moment, the idea toward the mirage fog cast. Kill. 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 As soon as he entered the mirage fog, there was a low and hoarse roar along Tian's ear. The voice was not only extremely violent, but also with a kind of horrible evil spirit. Just a little contact made Tian feel dizzy. He even couldn't help thinking to approach the soon dissipated evil spirit fog. What's more, at the same time, the vanishing mirage is showing signs of resurgence and reappearance. No! Seeing this, Tian's eyes were awe-inspiring. Without any hesitation, he suddenly bit the tip of his tongue and cut off the connection between his mind and mirage with the help of pain. Poof! But even if his reaction speed is extremely fast, his mood and mind have been greatly impacted. His whole body falters, and a black blood spurts out along his mouth. At this time, if the mirage lost its target, it would slowly dissipate after a little stagnation. This mirage is absolutely a kind of life. And it is a kind of life with strong evil spirit. Tian quickly transferred the idea of Sui Wangwen, guided the mana, moistened the damaged ideas and vitality. At the same time, his eyes showed different on. Tian, what's the matter with you? At the same time, Yan Bing and Wensheng asked Tian with doubts almost at the same time. Not only the two of them, Yun Fei, Mu Qingqing and Su Qing, but also quickly looked to Tian. Just now, Tian was exploring with his mind, so he didn't let them find anything strange. He just saw that Tian's breath was numb and he vomited blood. It's okay. Before I came here, I had some friction with people and suffered internal injury. Now the internal injury recurred. Just take care of it. Tian reaches out his hand to wipe away the bloodstain on the corner of his mouth, and shakes his head to Yanbing and Wensheng. Take good care of yourself. Next, I'll help you protect the Dharma. When Xingwen hears the sound, slightly relieved, looking at Yi Tianwen's voice. Yanbing smells speech, first surprised to see Wensheng one eye, then suspicious looking at Yi Tian. She can't understand why Wensheng is so interested in Yi Tian's affairs, and can't understand why Yi Tian is hurt internally. You know, after Yi Tian killed Taemin with his own strength, he is still alive and kicking. The opponents who can make him suffer internal injuries are probably only the top experts like Lu Bufan. But now the Leaf Day stands not to move, actually suddenly vomits the blood, the breath way done. So, there must be something strange in it. This mirage is not simple. If you don't pay attention to it, you will be worried about your life. Are you three going to act alone or with us? At this time, Yi Tian saw Yunfei, Mu Qingqing and Shuqing, and then said in a deep voice. We'd like to go with you. Yunfei and others smell speech, look at each other. Yunfei quickly made a decision.
What happened just now really made them feel that this mirage has not only great fortune, but also great terror. If something goes wrong, I'm afraid they will fail to find treasure in Lu Qingqing's life. One more person can help more, and Yi Tian's strength is strong, she saw with her own eyes before. This kind of master proposes the alliance voluntarily, naturally cannot miss.
Wait a minute. But at this time, Wen Cheng suddenly raised his hand, looked around the crowd, looked at Yunfei, Mu Qingqing and Su Chang, and said, if you three want to go with us, I think there are some things that we need to make clear in advance.
It should be.
Yunfei heard the sound and nodded. Well, I'll give you my opinion. In the mirage, if there is any easy harvest, then according to who needs more, to whom. But if it's rare, it should be distributed according to the amount of effort. The person who makes the most effort has the priority to choose. If he chooses to give up, the rest will continue to choose according to the amount of effort. Wen Shengshan said his distribution plan. Yes, that's the proposal. Yunfei nodded.
Wen Sheng's proposal to distribute according to work and needs is reasonable and fair. And in the mirage, no matter how many things a person gets in the process of mirage, when he leaves, he can only choose one thing, and there is no need to worry about someone trying to plot more.
In that case, do as agreed.
Seeing that Yunfei had no objection, Wen Sheng nodded slightly, then glanced at the crowd and said, since the alliance, no matter what prejudice you have before, you need to throw it all away. When a companion is in danger, unless it is the irresistible power of mirage fog, he must never abandon his companion, and try his best not to cheat, but to preserve his strength intentionally.
Don't worry, we will never do that shameless thing.
Mu Qingqing hears speech, crispy living shade, then dynasty leaf sky saw one eye. The expression, as if to say, among the people, only Yi Tian will do that kind of despised things. It won't be the best, but if I find someone cheating, I will be severely punished. Wen Shengchen answers with a voice, and then nods to Yi Tian. Soon, a group of 6 people along the beach, landing on the island, toward the inland area. Along the way, Yi Tian saw many broken ruins, mottled walls, engraved with the vicissitudes of time.
He went into the ruins and found several dull tiles.
After wiping away the dust on the surface, he found that the tiles were made of lingyu. However, because the time is too long, or the aura is hollowed out, the extraordinary things of the past have become commonplace. But even so, just from these, we can see that a long time ago, there was a great power on this island, and there were countless people with strong accomplishments in life.
However, how was such a magnificent pure land of cultivation destroyed? And where did the practitioners who once lived in this pure land go? Walking all the way, Yi Tian explores every broken wall he sees, even if it's just a dilapidated pavilion. He wants to find the traces left by the past forces here in their origins, but unfortunately, he went through a lot of places, but did not find a legacy with words, or even some patterns. Even so, he found a difference. It seems that all the information about the history of this place has been erased by some force. This point, he found a plaque in the pavilion, but it was cut by a sharp blade. After erasing the words that might have existed, it further confirmed this conjecture. Master Lei Chiron, are you here to look for opportunities, or are you coming out for sightseeing? Yi Tian's stop-and-go attitude is not worried. It's not like looking for treasure. It's more like the attitude of clocking in when he's touring. It soon leads to Mu Qingqing's dissatisfaction and murmurs. This little girl, listen to Yunfei's words very much, call Yi Tian big sex wolf, although the appellation does not change, but in the back, still added 2 words of elder. However, the long tone, how to listen, how not like respect, but like metaphor and irony. Yi Tian, every time the mirage opens, it only lasts 3 days. If you follow this speed, I'm afraid that even if there are good things, they will be taken away by the people in front of you. Wen Sheng also puts forward his dissatisfaction to Yi Tian tactfully. Although Yen Bing, Yunfei and Su Qing don't speak, their expressions show that they have the same attitude towards this matter as Mu Qingqing and Wen Sheng. Yi Tian was dumbfounded when he heard the words, but he forgot that he was more interested in the history of the mirage, but the other 5 people around him were more interested in the things in the mirage. Well, let's speed up. Yi Tianping smiles and accepts these people's suggestions with an open mind.
Just after this exploration, he also found that it is very difficult to find clues from these ruins.
Maybe he can find something in the complete buildings in the core.
After Tian accepted the proposal, his party speeded up a lot and headed for the core area.
Heavenly Heart Grass. Not long later, a few people in the group saw a clump of tianqing grass by the roadside, swaying with the wind, and the branches and leaves twinkled with faint light.
Even if they were far away, they could smell the fragrance of medicine secreted from them.
This kind of tianqing grass, if placed in the outside world, will certainly attract the attention of many mountain people.
But now, people passing by turn a blind eye to it, just like wild grass growing in the mountains. It is obvious that every mountain dweller who enters here wants to obtain a more precious elixir, rather than such a leisurely thing.
Tian didn't dislike so much.
He picked a plant of tianqing grass and explored it carefully according to the cultivation of Emperor Dan.
It has abundant medicinal properties and strong vitality.
Refining Peiyuan pill with Tiang Cinco not only has a high probability of becoming a pill, but also has a significant improvement in the quality and effect of the pill.
But a moment later, Tian's brow slightly wrinkled, low exhaled voice. Tian, what did you find? Yan Bing hears the sound and asks Tianchuan curiously. You see, there are some fine black impurities in this plant. There is no such thing in a normal plant.
And it's strange that these impurities don't affect the medicinal properties of this plant. Tian raises the heart of heaven grass, and after folding it into 2 sections, he delivers it to Yan Bing.
Pretending to be gods and ghosts, do you think you know the elixir very well? Why didn't I see anything? Mu Qingqing came to see a few eyes, sniffed. There are impurities. It's very subtle. If you don't look at it carefully, you can hardly see it.
At this time, Yan Bing took over half of tianqing grass from Tian. After careful examination, he was surprised. There are a lot of black particles and impurities in tianqing grass, but these black impurities are so subtle that she can't see them without Tian's warning.
Maybe the growth environment here is different from that of the outside world. When the elixir grows, it absorbs some impurities that cannot be eliminated.
Wen Shang also looked at it and put forward his own views. Tian did not speak, but shook his head slightly. Just now he explored with his mind and found that the black particle-like impurities were not solid, but more like gas.
And in it, there is an activity. In short, it's very similar to mirage. Is mirage in the bodies of these creatures on the island?
Tian's mind changed, so he carefully turned the mana to the half-plant of tianqing grass in his hand, and then carefully gathered the impurities into a piece the size of a fingernail, forcing it out. As soon as the impurities came out, they immediately floated and hung in front of Tian's body. It was almost the same as the mirage before. Not only that, along the surrounding heaven and earth, the aura immediately appeared a sudden change. From the surrounding stone crevices, there is a dark gray fog outflow, if you want to assemble.
This thing is really a mirage. Tian sees this and doesn't have any hesitation.
He claps his palm across the air toward the small group of mirage fog. After knocking it to one side, he says in a deep voice to Wen Chang and others around him, mirage fog appears. Wen Chang and others have also seen this abnormality at the moment. Hearing Tian's words, they dare not hesitate and quickly speed up and leave this area. Almost as soon as they left, the mirage fog quickly appeared in the area just now, and a part of the mirage fog fell on the grass of tianqing grass. In the blink of an eye, these tianqing grass became yellow, and then withered completely.
Big sex wolf, don't mess around, okay? If you kill everyone, you will be happy. Mu Qingqing palpitating padded chest, looking at Tian ferocious way.
Just now she clearly saw that it was Tian who forced the small mirage out of tianqing grass that the extremely terrible mirage came.
Sorry, I'll be careful next time.
Tian is also palpitating, some embarrassed to the public. He just thought to himself that the Master of Arts was brave, but he forgot that he was still with Wen Chang and others, which almost led to disaster. However, this also let Tian completely confirm one thing, that is, there is mirage in the elixir growing here. Even, he suspects that these elixirs may be the bait deliberately made by mirage fog. As long as someone picks the elixir, mirage fog can launch an accurate attack on the collector through the mirage fog breath contained in these elixirs. Later, if you see the right elixir, after picking it, I'll clean it up and give it back to you.
Think of here, Leaf Day immediately looking at Yin Bing and Cloud Fei etc., Sync a voice way. Why? How do we know if you will take the elixir as your own Mu Qingqing smell speech, frown vigilant looking at Yi Tian? If you don't want to give it to me, don't blame me for not reminding you when Mirage pursues you. Yi Tian said faintly. Some people, is not to the Yellow River do not give up, take a cut, in order to gain wisdom. Mu Qingqing is obviously such a person. Mu Qingqing curls her mouth and looks at Yi Tian suspiciously. She always thinks that Yi Tian may not be well-intentioned. After all, a guy who always abandons everything and sells pictures of fairies to others doesn't look like a good man. What kind of strange existence is this Mirage? And how did this pure land of cultivation become today's ruins? Yi Tian didn't pay attention to Mu Qingqing's performance, but fell into his own meditation. He wanted to know what had happened to turn this pure land into ruins, and the existence of Mirage was terrible. Evil, seek death. But at this time, along the front, suddenly came a hasty cry for help. Go and have a look. Hearing the sound, Yi Tian moves forward and rushes to the place where the sound comes from. Yan Bing, Wen Chang and others are also full of curiosity. They follow Yi Tian and go away quickly. Hiss. Just as soon as he got close to the area where the sound came from, Mu Qingqing couldn't help taking a breath of cold air. In the middle of the pool, there is a lotus pod, which is swaying slightly in the absence of wind. Moreover, the area with lotus seeds on the lotus pod has a faint light blooming, which is not an ordinary product. Not only that, outside the pool, 3 mountain people who want to swim to the middle of the pool and pick up the lotus are fighting with a ferocious python with a bowl of thick and thin, 2 small drums on the top and a bloody-mouthed dragon-scale lotus. Fierce cobra. The Leaf Day vision once swept, vision immediately tiny a change. Dragon-scale lotus is a kind of pure martial arts, very good medicine. It is said that the lotus seed of this lotus is pregnant with a little dragon blood essence. After taking it, it can use the dragon blood essence to forge its body, making the body as strong as the dragon nationality and get some dragon power. As for the fierce cobra, it is a fierce animal, similar to snakes and pythons, but different from snakes and pythons. The fierce cobra has 2 bulges on its head, which seems to have some dragon's shadow. The body of the fierce cobra is very strong. Even if it is an adult fierce cobra who has not set foot on the road of cultivation, its physical strength is comparable to the strength of the 5 layers of the mud world. As for the fierce cobras who step into the path of cultivation, there are unlimited possibilities. The strong ones can even transform their bodies into dragons, which are almost the same as the monks in Yuanyingjing. Yi Tian did not expect to see these 2 things on earth. At that moment, he was in a trance and had the feeling of dreaming back to the spiritual realm. According to Yi Tian's judgment, this fierce cobra is a juvenile and has not grown up. Otherwise, it is not the thickness of the bowl, but at least the thickness of the bucket. However, this young fierce cobra should be focused on the dragon-scale lotus. He wants to take lotus seeds slowly and temper his body, so that his body can possess the strength of the dragon family, which will make it possible to become a dragon family in the future. Beast, you want to stop us, you want to die. At this time, the mountain people, whose accomplishments were at the peak of the Xian level, found that someone was approaching. They were afraid that others would take advantage of the chance of fighting between the 2 sides. They immediately started to fight with the spirit of 12 points, waved their weapons and cut the fierce cobra. Although the fierce cobra looks a little shocking, it's only a child after all. It lacks combat experience and strength. After a while, there are a few more ferocious bloodstains on its body. Ha ha ha, that's all you are seeing this, the mountain people immediately sneered and slashed the fierce cobra's neck. Danger! Stop! Get out of here. Yi Tian sees this, the vision in, sink a voice to scold away. The venomous cobra is different from other snakes. Although it is cold-blooded, it has the characteristics that the adult venomous cobra raises the young venomous cobra to adulthood. Since there are juvenile fierce cobras here, there must also be adult fierce cobras. I'm afraid that the reason why the adult venomous cobra didn't show up is that they trained their hunting instinct with these mountain people. If it saw that these mountain people wanted to kill the young fierce cobra, it would show up and stop them. If you want us to leave, will you take the lotus seeds? You think we're idiots? But unfortunately, those mountain people didn't care about Yi Tian at all. Instead, they thought Yi Tian was trying to make a profit. While sneering, they acted fiercely. Wow! But at this time, along the dark surface of the pool, suddenly there are layers of ripples, followed by a deep roar. A thick black figure suddenly rushed out from the bottom of the water, raised the water spray like rain around the pool, as if it had been poured by a rainstorm. Wet. Roar! Immediately after that, the dark shadow made a low and explosive drink. This is... Hearing this, those people looked up and immediately saw a fierce cobra with the thickness of a bucket in the pool. It looked like an enlarged version of the little fierce cobra. The terrible and ferocious appearance made those people in the mountains sweat and die. How could he know the danger? Yan Bing, Wensheng, Junfei and others are shocked and look at Yi Tian. Just now, they didn't realize that there was a fierce cobra hidden at the bottom of the pool, but how did Yi Tian find it? Shwa! Bang! But just then, with a surge of water, the tail of the adult fierce cobra suddenly flew up from the water, and the long bone tail like a spindle hit the three mountain people heavily. This strike is as fast as lightning, faster than the galloping horse, which makes people have no time to respond at all. What's more, the strength of the blow was like a speeding locomotive. The moment they hit the three Xuanji mountain people, they were hit into meat sauce without even humming. Hula after that, the fierce cobra opened his mouth and sucked hard, then swallowed the remains of the three mountain people. Then, his head turns, his eyes are like two red lanterns, staring at Yi Tian and others. His eyes are full of hatred and greed. It's broken. This fierce cobra is very fierce. I'm afraid it's food for several people. Yi Tian sees this, the facial expression suddenly won Lin, then big shout away, guard. Yan Bing and Wensheng and others heard, without any hesitation, immediately took out the blade, attentive alert. Shwa! Adult fierce cobra see, eyes blink, tail quickly raised, toward the sixth hit. Hiss! The tail of the fierce cobra is not close yet, but the fierce wind has made Mu Qingqing and Su Qing, who are the weakest in cultivation, feel unstable. Su Qing, Mu Qingqing, you two step back and keep away from others. Wensheng, Yan Bing, Yunfei, you help me distract his attention. Yi Tian sees this, jump up, a fist toward fierce cobra tail hit at the same time, sync a voice way. Bang! Almost at the same time when the words fall, Yi Tian's fist collides with the spindle-like mallet of the venomous cobra's tail. After an earth-shaking sound, Yi Tian's body retreats and the venomous cobra's tail swings back. This guy is so strong. Mu Qingqing looks at this scene and pulls Su Qing back quickly. At the same time, she opens her mouth involuntarily. How powerful is the tail of the fierce cobra? She just saw three people on the mountain die unexpectedly. She can't be more clear. Can be such a force, unexpectedly can be forced back by Yi Tian's fist. How this does not make people feel incredible. At this time, she finally understood why Yunfei would let her call Yi Tian the Elder. Not only that, she also secretly fluke, along the way, she constantly attacked Yi Tian, also called him Big Sex Wolf. Fortunately Yi Tian did not see eye to eye with her, otherwise, it is not a blow to kill her. But then she came up with a more important question. Since Yi Tian is so overbearing, why would he tolerate her again and again? Is it difficult for this big sex wolf to fall in love with himself? This idea led Mu Qingqing can't help but excite Ling Ling to shiver, looking at Yi Tian's eyes, more than looking at the fierce cobra. Attack at 7 inches. At this time, Yi Tian shook his sore fists and said to Wensheng, Yan Bing and Yunfei. Three people smell speech, don't have the slightest bit sun hesitation, then display means, toward fierce cobra of 7-inch position to greet and go. The attack of the three made the fierce cobra furious, wriggling constantly in the pool, pumping repeatedly. At this time, Yi Tian takes advantage of his toes to jump to the cliff stones beside the pool. When he was in the square-inch spirit realm, he once dealt with the fierce cobra. He knew that the weakness of this fierce beast was on the 2 meat horns on its head. As long as he bombarded the meat horns, he could stun it. Now he is standing at the edge of the pool, and facing the fierce cobra, must find a higher position, can be more convenient. No, the big wolf is going to leave us and run away alone. Mu Qingqing sees this and thinks that Yi Tian wants to run away. Hua looks pale and says in a loud voice.
But after the words, she felt a burst of regret in her heart, and felt that she should not call Tian like this again, so as not to annoy each other, or let this guy who may have a special hobby move more ideas about herself dang. But just at this time, Tian jumped into the rock, stood firm, and quickly bent his elbow to smash the head of the fierce cobra. It turned out that he didn't want to escape. Mu Qingqing sees this, pretty cheek can't help getting a red, in the heart is full of embarrassment and shyness, which can't find a ground seam to drill in. This discovery made her realize that she was just too mean to be a gentleman. In other words, she didn't know Tian very well. Moreover, the nature of the big sex wolf is not as unbearable as he thought. Bang! Almost when Mu Qingqing's thoughts changed, Tian had already come to the top of the head of the fierce cobra. With a heavy elbow stroke, he hit the two meat horns of the head of the fierce cobra. Boom! One hit down, fierce cobra immediately like drunk, huge body tottering, finally a head fell in the pool, splashing countless water. Whew! Seeing this, Tian breathed a sigh of relief. Then he quickly put out his cloud photography hand, grabbed the dragon scale lotus in the air, put the lotus in his hand, tiptoed to the body of the young fierce cobra, and quickly jumped to the bank. This series of actions, like flowing water, smooth as art. This guy is really strong. Mu Qingqing looks at Tian's awe-inspiring back. Rao sure is full of prejudice towards Tian in her heart, but at this moment, she still praises and admires Tian. Wow! But here, in the pool, countless ripples appeared again, and then the adult fierce cobra rushed out of the pool ferociously, opened its mouth and roared, biting at Tian. This action, swift and violent to the extreme, is just like a black lightning, blink of an eye. It appeared in the top of the head of Tian, along its mouth secretion of mucus, almost all dropped on Tian's head. No! When Shang, Yanbing and Yunfei see this, and drink a lot. Without thinking about it, they turn the blade and chop the fierce cobra, trying to solve the crisis for Tianhua. But unfortunately, when their weapons were thrown out, they could not cause any damage to the fierce cobra. Let alone break its body, they did not even leave any white marks. Even after splashing a bunch of sparks, they flew directly to one side. Damn, how could this fierce cobra be so crazy? Even Leaf Day, can't help slightly want to dodge, but found that he has nowhere to hide. Fight for it. Seeing this, Tian, without any hesitation, quickly pinched open the lotus seed, took out a lotus seed, poured mana, and forced out the black particles of mirage fog. At the same time, he said in a loud voice, "Mirage fog is coming, you go back." With the previous experience, Yanbing and Yunfei and others heard that they didn't have any hesitation. They suddenly changed their expression and didn't have any hesitation. They quickly stepped back to distance themselves from Tian. And at this time, along the lotus seed held by Tian, suddenly a light gray mist flew out. Then, around the pool, the aura of heaven and earth suddenly became restless. Wisps of light gray fog appeared quickly around the pool, and approached the mirage and the lotus seed. Shwa! The fierce cobra was clearly aware of the horror of the mirage fog. Without any hesitation, the huge body turned fiercely in the mid-air, and then its tail caught the young fierce cobra and quickly penetrated into the deep pool. Tai! At the same time, Tian tiptoed and quickly retreated. But the speed of mirage fog gathering is far beyond Tian's expectation. In the blink of an eye, a ray of mirage fog appears behind Tian's feet, exuding a strong attraction to drag Tian into the fog. Damn it, the Leaf Day hears a sound, dark scold a voice, don't have any hesitation, palm a turn, toward that wisp of mirage fog heavily clap. Boom! In a flash, the mist was pushed backward by his palm wind, about half a bar away. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Tian leaped back quickly and got out of the mirage after nearly 2 meters. Give it to me! Give it to me! Kill! But at this time, along Tian's ear, there came a hoarse and irascible roar. Mirage is on me! Tian hears the sound, and his eyes are awe-inspiring. Before that, when his mind came into contact with the mirage fog, he heard the sound. But this time, it was the mirage fog that sent the message to him. This shows that he urged the mirage fog in the elixir twice in succession, and fled quickly, so that the mirage fog's hunting failed, which has already aroused the attention of mirage fog, or in other words, caused his anger. Yi Tian has no doubt that if he does this again, I'm afraid the speed of Mirage Fog's counterattack will be faster and more violent, and the possibility that he wants to avoid will be lower. At the same time, the Mirage Fog hovered around the pool for a long time like an invisible strong wind. At last, it suddenly bumped into a huge tree beside the pool and disappeared. When it dissipated, the original and luxuriant giant tree suddenly withered, turned yellow and decayed. How close! If you don't have to do something like this, you can't do it anymore. When Shang is sure that after the Mirage Fog dissipates, he looks at Yi Tian in disbelief with lingering fear. He was shocked by the violence of Mirage Fog and Yi Tian's fierce means. What he doubted was how Yi Tian could find the secret of Mirage Fog hidden in the elixir. Moreover, when he was still in college, how could he be stronger than himself in the later stage of prefecture level? Good. Yi Tian nodded solemnly. With the anger just shown by the Mirage Fog, he also understood that he could not use this method anymore if he did not have to. There are 5 lotus seeds in this lotus seed. Let's share them. Immediately after, Yi Tian raises the lotus seed and looks at the crowd. I, Yan Bing, and Master Wen, each one has a lotus seed. As for Su Qing and Xingqing, they didn't do anything. Let's forget this time. As for the remaining 2, Yi Tian, you have the most strength and the greatest risk. It's up to you alone. Cloud Fei made a decision very quickly, looking at Leaf Day, solemn way. Mo Qingqing pursed her lips. Although she was not happy, she didn't say anything. Among these people present, she and Su Qing are the weakest. Just now, they are just on guard around. They are not qualified for Lotus Seed. The distribution is reasonable. And to say the least, whether it's a panacea or something else, we can only take one from the Mirage at most. Although the Lotus Seed is good, it may not be the final choice. Wen Shang obviously didn't expect that Yunfei would make such a fair decision. He looked at her in surprise and then said in a deep voice. A language falls, everybody nods slightly, nobody has the objection opinion. Do you take the lotus seeds by yourself, or shall I take care of them for you? Yi Tian didn't refuse anything. After nodding at will, he looked at several people and said. No, we'll take care of Elder Marshall's sister's share. Mu Qingqing hears the sound and shows her hand to Yi Tian. Take my share first. As for Yan Bing and Wen Chang, they are different voices. However, in addition to believing in Yi Tian, Yan Bing also chose to do so because she knew that Yi Tian had a mysterious way to keep the lotus seeds. It was 100 times safer to give it to Yi Tian to keep the lotus seeds than to take it by herself. Moreover, with Yi Tian's strength and character, Yan Bing would not forget her lotus seeds. Well, I'll take both of you first. Yi Tian nods and throws a lotus seed to Yunfei. He looks at Yan Bing and Wen Chang and says with a smile. Soon, they were on the road again. However, compared with before, Mu Qingqing, who plays with lotus seeds, has less contempt and hostility, more worship and curiosity in her eyes when she peeks at Yi Tian's back. Not long after, the group came to the hillside, and in front of them, there was a building ruins built on the mountain. The ruins are all made of coral, shells and big fish bones on the seafloor. They are grand and magnificent, just like the Dragon Palace in myth. Even if the materials have become dark and pale, they can still be called uncanny craftsmanship. I think the princess who used to live here must be the legendary Dragon Princess. Mu Qingqing's eyes were full of intoxication and murmured to himself. Although Yan Bing and Yunfei don't speak, they look forward to the same building. Girls can't have any resistance to it. Although Yi Tian is speechless, it is only speechless that there should be such a magnificent building on the earth. As for the vision, there is nothing at all. At the beginning, in the square-inch spiritual realm, he saw more magnificent buildings than the one in front of him. There is only a little curiosity in his heart, that is, in this magnificent building, will there be any trace of Mirage's past history? In the building, there was an obvious fight. There were many broken corals, shells and fish bones scattered on the ground. Not only that, but also a few white bones. Yi Tian looked carefully, and found that these bones should not be the monks who lived in the Mirage, but the mountain people who fought and died in the past. I don't know how many people have explored here for so many years. It's a pity that we came too late. Wen Shang looks around and says with regret. Yan Bing and Yun Fei have the same color of loss on their faces. In this mysterious place, everything depends on one's fortune. If fortune can't be found, it's useless to explore it 100 times. If fortune comes, you may get something if you take 2 steps.
Let's go inside and have a look. Maybe we can find something. Yi Tian smiles and says. Yi Tian is right. Let's go inside and have a look.
Wen Chang nodded.
No one else objected. This is the first time that we have entered the mirage. We really want to see if there will be any good fortune in this slightly complete building.
Along the way, there were broken materials everywhere, and white bones left after the fight.
Look here, it seems that there are some traces of color.
Suddenly, Mu Qingqing pointed to the bottom of a piece of white fishbone and said in a loud voice. After hearing the words, they rushed around and looked at it carefully. They found that there were indeed mottled colors there. For example, some murals were engraved on it in the past, but with the passage of time, or the destruction of external forces, it became dim. After staring at the mottled color, Yi Tian quickly moves forward and scans the fish bones around to find out whether there are traces of murals.
This is...
A few minutes later, when Yi Tian came to a big fish bone that was almost 2 people tall, he immediately saw that there was a complete mural on the fish bone. In the mural, a woman with white clothes and long hair is wearing a shawl. Her hands are on her back, her clothes are floating, and her feet are stepping on a light blue sword, like standing in the strong wind. The mural is so lifelike that it seems that the woman in white may come out of the mural at any time.
Female sword fairy.
In a flash, Yi Tian judged the identity of the woman through the flying picture of the imperial sword. Her face, who was so vicious as to destroy such a beautiful work of art. Yan Bing, Yun Fei and others also rush over. When they see the mural, Mu Qingqing's feet are full of vitality, and his eyes are almost bursting with fire. Not only she, but Yan Bing, Yun Fei, Su Cheng, and Wen Chang are also full of regret. The face of the woman in white on the mural seems to have been scraped off with some force, leaving only the pale background. The beautiful and flexible painting and the blank facial features are full of strangeness and regret.
Is the person in the mural a practitioner who once lived in a mirage? Or is it the power that makes this once pure land of cultivation become a broken one?
Yi Tian was also perplexed, and then he stared at the mural tightly, his mind scattered, looking at the clues, hoping to find some clues.
Sword. What a pure sword.
The idea of God is not in the mural, and Yi Tian immediately feels a strong sense of sword from the mural. This discovery made his face change slightly, and his heart became more interested.
His mind continued to scan and explore.
Finally, he determined that this was not only a mural, but also a preaching picture. When sketching the mural, the painter, or the owner of the portrait, put his personal understanding of cultivation into the mural.
In other words, there is a part of their cultivation in the mural.
Only those who have good luck with the mural and can resonate with it can continue to inherit it. This kind of painting is not only painting, but also a kind of roadmap.
Master Lecheron, what are you staring at? Don't tell me, are you going to paint again?
Mu Qingqing saw that Yi Tian was staring at the mural, his eyes blinked, and he couldn't help showing his vigilance.
How do I feel that the mural seems to be alive?
Just now, I seemed to see that the sword she was stepping on moved a little. But at this time, Cloud Face suddenly surprised Wei.
Is Yun Fei destined for this painting?
Yi Tian looks at Yun Fei in surprise, and then says with a smile, the way of inheriting fate or Dao to run your internal power, stick your palm on the mural, and you will see what you want to see. Yun Fei takes a suspicious look at Yi Tian, then hesitates to stick his hand on the mural, and then works his internal power. For a moment, Yun Fei felt as if she had been pulled by some kind of force. The world in front of her suddenly appeared in the vast sky, with a vast sea of clouds and strong wind. Not only that, in this strange world, the woman in white in the mural is also there, and the other party is still alive. After sensing her breath, she gently raises her hand, and a strong wind suddenly wraps Yun Fei's body. Immediately after that, Yun Fei suddenly felt that she had suddenly become the woman in white. Her feet were trampling on the sword. The vast starry sky and endless sky were overhead, and the wind and white clouds were under her feet. I don't know how long after that, her body trembled and she woke up to find that she was still standing in front of the mural, beside Yi Tian and Yanbing. How did he know that if he touched the mural with his hand and poured internal force, it would produce induction?
Yunfei looks at Yi Tian in consternation.
She thinks what she just saw is an illusion. But that feeling is very real, and the feeling of flying imperial sword is even more intoxicating. Not only that, she also felt that there seemed to be something more in her mind. Although those things are still chaotic now, she has a premonition that as long as she digests them slowly, she will be able to absorb them completely. Elder Martial's sister, what do you see? At this time, Mu Qingqing came over and looked at Yunfei and asked curiously. I feel like I have become her, flying in the imperial sword.
Yunfei reaches out her hand and touches the mural.
Her eyes are blurred and she walks slowly.
Sword flying?
Mu Qingqing's face was intoxicated. He quickly pasted his hand on the mural, operated his internal power and closed his eyes. Elder Martial's sister, why can't I feel anything? After a long time, Mu Qingqing opens her eyes, looks at Yunfei with a puzzled face and asks. When Yanbing heard the sound, she quickly put her hand on the mural to feel it, but she also got nothing. Su Qing also tried, but the result is no different from Mu Qingqing and Yanbing. Cloud Fei sees shape, doubt of toward Leaf Day hope to go, she has premonition, Leaf Day probably no inside of strange.
This is her fortune, your fortune, not yet. Yi Tian smiles lightly, light way. The inheritance of Taoan too is just like this. It only pays attention to the word predestination. Only those who are predestined can be inherited, those who are not, even if they try every day, can only be useless. This road chart, approved and Cloud Fei's predestination, thought that in her body, perhaps has the sword repair the quality. What kind of painting?
Mu Qingqing hears the sound, toot up a small mouth, the whole face is not happy. She didn't envy Yunfei, but felt that she was despised by a mural, and was not willing to. When I get back, I'll teach you. Cloud Fei stretched out his hand to rub to bathe the head of green, light smile way. Mu Qingqing hears speech, this just the child heart nature of exposed smile.
Keep going.
Yi Tian light sentence, and then with the people, continue to move forward. Soon they came to the end of the palace.
What's this?
Soon, everyone stopped and looked at the hole in front of the palace. It went through the walls of the palace, and then continued to extend until it reached a 2-meter deep moat running through the two mountains.
Obviously, this natural chasm is not natural, but man-made.
But it's weird.
Its incisions are extremely smooth, just like other people's incisions with a knife and a ruler. Although he didn't go to the front of the two mountains to investigate, Yi Tian can be sure that the gap in the moat were cut out with a sword. Because, although I don't know how many years have passed, there is still a faint sword in the gap. According to Yi Tian's judgment, at the beginning, the cultivator who could display such a strong sword spirit was at least a sword cultivator who transformed the divine realm. Sword cultivation is the group of practitioners who are good at fighting. The sword cultivation of transforming the divine realm can even break out the fighting power of ordinary monks in Yupu realm. Yi Tian doesn't understand how the Pure Land with such a top-notch monk can be desolate and dilapidated, and even the face on the mural can be destroyed and erased by unknowable forces. The two mountains stand majestically, and a natural moat runs through them like a giant dragon. It looks mysterious and tells us what happened in this pure land of cultivation. This terrain, some familiar.
After staring at the two mountains and the moat for a long time, Yi Tian's eyes suddenly changed and he thought of the map of Shangguan Jinhong and the blind old man. This place is marked on the maps of both men. Not only that, according to the diagram on the map, with his current location as a dot, heading southwest, there is a building suspected of alchemy room. Thinking of this place, Yi Tian, once the emperor of Dan, suddenly changed his eyes and decided to go to the alchemy room to find out. In the southwest, there seems to be an alchemy room.
I want to go and find out. Are you with me or not? Yi Tian turns his head and looks at Yanbing, Yunfei and others, calming down. How do you know?
Wen Shang looks at Yi Tian doubtfully and says. Along the way, Yi Tian showed a lot of unusual places, and even made people feel that he seemed very familiar with it, not like he came here for the first time.
I have a map in hand that shows what's going on here.
Yi Tian smiles and looks at Yanbing, indicating that she will take out the map of Shangguan Jinhong. After unfolding it in front of Wenchang, he points to a group of buildings marked on it and says, "If you are willing to join me, please join me. If you want to explore in other places, we will meet in this group of buildings. I have heard that there is an alchemy room in the Mirage, but as far as I know, the alchemy room has been explored many times over the years. Even if there are pills, they have been taken away, and I'm not an alchemy master, so I won't be together." Yunfei stares at the map and makes a quick decision. "I'm with them."
Yan Bing hesitates and looks at Yi Tiandao with some guilt. Wenchang also nodded, indicating that he was not interested in the alchemy room area. "In that case, we'll split up here and meet in this complex later." Everyone has his own ambition.
Yi Tian doesn't force anything. After laughing, he chooses to act alone. Soon, they divided into two groups.
Yan Bing, Yunfei and others explored southeast along the map, while Yi Tian rushed to the area of the alchemy room according to the guide. Although he also knew that Mirage had appeared for so many years, even if there was a furnace or medicine in the alchemy room, it had already been taken away. As a man in the alchemy, he wanted to have a look even if there was nothing in the air. More than an hour later, Yi Tian arrived at the alchemy room smoothly. Different from the previous residence of the female Jianxiu, this alchemy room is made of pure ancient blue stone. In its simplicity, it has a grand atmosphere and a feeling of affinity with nature. Yi Tian closed his eyes and felt it quietly. When he found that after countless years, the area around the alchemy room was still filled with a very thin fragrance of pills, he could not help nodding his head and secretly exclaiming, "The alchemist who once existed in this pure land of cultivation should have some abilities." A little later, Yi Tian went into the alchemy room. The alchemy room is very spacious and tall. On the ground, there are more than 10 animal head sculptures. This thing, Yi Tian is no stranger, is the switch that controls the earth fire. However, to Yi Tian's disappointment, the room of alchemy is very empty, and there is no furnace. However, Yi Tian was not the only one who came to the alchemy room. Before him, there were two groups of people standing among the stone beast heads. A group of people are three lean and capable Taoists in Taoist robes, one at the later stage of the prefecture level, and two at the peak of the prefecture level. As for the other group of people, they were a hot girl with a pair of beautiful fox eyes. Behind the girl, there was a middle-aged man who was in the middle of the prefecture level. Before the arrival of Yi Tian, these two groups of people were obviously in confrontation. When Yi Tian was discovered as an unexpected guest, two groups of people cast their eyes at him at the same time. "Do you know which sect took away the dance stove here?" Yi Tianping looked at these two groups of people, and then said faintly. "You come to explore the Mirage, don't you even know it?" Fox Eye Girl heard Yi Tian's words, covered her mouth and laughed. After a teasing look at Yi Tian, she said, "When the Mirage first appeared, King Mingzong moved the furnace in the alchemy room. If you need to, you can ask them to see it." Sure enough, the Danlu has been taken first. Although Yi Tian had already expected such a result, he was still disappointed to be personally verified at the moment. "Boy, it's none of your business here. Get out of here, otherwise, don't blame us for being rude." At this time, the Taoists in Taoist robes, looking at Yi Tian, scolded coldly. Yi Tian looks at the Taoist with indifference and turns to leave. "Wait a minute." But at this time, the Fox-Eye Girl suddenly stopped Yi Tian, looked at him, and said, "Little brother, although there is no dance stove here, we just found a jade bottle with 2 pills here. If you are willing to join hands with us to deal with this group of stinking ox noses, we can divide the pills equally. What do you think? In the alchemy room, there are still pills to keep?" Yi Tian's eyes changed when he heard the words. When he swept towards the Taoist, he saw that they were obviously nervous after hearing the Fox-Eye Girl's words. He immediately decided that the Fox-Eye Girl should not have lied. However, he knew that the Fox-Eyed Girl was not a good person either. The so-called alliance was supposed to use him as a human shield to fight for the chance for the prefecture-level peak nearby. But since it's the elixir left by the ancient Pure Land, its quality should not be too bad, and it's worth fighting. What makes Yi Tian puzzled is that the elixir is not inherited by Daotu. Since King Mingzong even moved the elixir stove, how could he still leave elixir in the alchemy room? Boy, it's a private matter between the suspended door and them.
If you don't want to die, I suggest you should be less involved. The leading Taoist looked at Yi Tian and scolded coldly.
Where is the pill? Let me have a look first. Yi Tianjian ignored the Taoist's threat, but looked at the fox-eyed girl and said faintly. Little brother is very cautious, I like it. Fox-eyed girl smile, eyes flow, and then from the waist of a small cloth bag inside a jade bottle, open, toward Yi Tian shook. Guayuan pill. The leaf day sees the appearance of Dan medicine, the nose again slightly adraw, the vision can't help but get a stagnation.
He did not expect to find this pill in the alchemy room. Although Guayuan Dan is useless to him now, it can be taken by Qin Luoshan and Ning Shui to help them break through their accomplishments.
Deal. Yi Tian nodded to the fox-eyed girl and looked at the three Taoist priests hanging in the air. He said faintly, I'm in a good mood now. I don't want to kill you. You three will leave at once. Ha ha, boy, what are you? You dare to talk in front of us. I don't think you want to live? The Taoist priest of Dangkong Gate sneered scornfully. Since you don't want to go to the Yellow River, let you know how powerful it is. Yi Tian smiles indifferently and looks at those animal heads on the ground. He says in a cold voice, Earth fire, open. Ah, boy, don't make people laugh to death. You think you are the old master of Mirage, and you want to control the array here?
Dream seeing this, the Taoist priest of Shinkong Gate is out of breath.
He looks at Yi Tian like an idiot. Long.
But at this time, along the ground under the feet of the people, suddenly came a strange tremor. Immediately, a heat suddenly rises, and in the blink of an eye, it makes people feel that the indoor temperature has increased a lot. Can he really control these animal heads to release earth fire? This strange situation made the three Taoists of Shinkong Gate look awe-inspiring and alert. Not only the three of them, but also the fox-eyed girl and the middle-aged man behind her. When they felt the change, they were all on guard and looked at Yi Tian in disbelief.
Boom! Tai!
At this time, along the ground in those ferocious beast head mouth, suddenly there is a dull air impact sound, followed by several red flames, suddenly from the bottom of the earth. Scarlet tongue of fire, constantly licking, straight let a person feel, touch a scent, will be burned to coke.
No way, it's impossible. How can you control these fires? Dangkong Gatekeeper was shocked and looked at Yi Tian tremblingly. He didn't dare to buy the channel.
During the years of Mirage existence, I don't know how many mountain people are trying to control some organs and field arrays in Mirage, so as to eliminate competitors and gain more benefits.
Unfortunately, none of them succeeded, and many even lost their lives.
But now, Yi Tian is under his eyes, let the beast head spurt fire. At this moment, he almost thought it was just an illusion. But the burning sensation brought by the licking of the tongue of fire made him understand that all this was not an illusion, but a real existence. I'll give you 3 minutes to think about whether to leave or stay and make your own decisions.
Yi Tian is indifferent to looking at those three suspended door Taoist, Light Wei. Once as the Emperor of Dan, if he didn't know how to start the fire, it would be useless.
After hearing this, the three Taoists looked at each other. Their eyes changed. Without saying a word, they quickly fled to the alchemy room. The ground fire is fierce and cannot be countered. What's more surprising is that since Yi Tian can control the earth fire, who knows if he can control other mysterious abilities here? The man with the hanging door has gone.
Can you keep your promise?
At this time, Yi Tian turns his head and looks at the fox-eye girl.
Of course. Fox-eye girl no longer dare to tease Yi Tian at the moment.
She honestly throws a Guayuan pill to Yi Tian. She just really didn't have a good heart. She planned to lure Yi Tian with elixir and let him be a human shield to help weaken the strength of the three Taoists in Shinkong Gate. But now, she did not dare to move anymore.
Good, you can leave.
Yi Tian took Guayuan Dan, carefully check, after confirming that there is no falsification, Light Wei.
I don't know what you should call me, master?
The fox-eyed girl nodded, but when she came to the door, she hesitated and said,
Yi Tian. Yi Tian Yan is concise and comprehensive. Yi Tian, my name is Shi Yan. I hope to see you again in the future.
Fox-eye girl heard Yi Tian's words, murmured the name again, and immediately her eyes changed slightly. If she thought of something, she stared at him carefully.
After a careful look, Tian gave a smile, reported her name, and left quickly. In this Guiyuan pill, there is mirage fog. At this time, Tian felt it carefully with his magic power and found that there was mirage fog in Guiyuan Dan, just like Tianxing grass. This makes Tian wonder if there is mirage in everything here. Moreover, what makes him more curious is whether the mirage fog will still exist after getting it to the outside world. If you let the mirage fog enter your body when you take the elixir, or if you use the weapon you obtain from this place for a long time and are imperceptibly influenced by the mirage fog, what will happen? Although Tian is curious, he has no intention to take the initiative to try. He took Guiyuan Dan and looked at it carefully. His eyes changed a little. Then he sat in the middle of the ground fire with his knees crossed. With his hands raised, many ground fires suddenly rose up and connected around him. After everything is done, he immediately runs the mana to discharge all the mirage fog in Guiyuan pill. In a flash, along the alchemy room around, there will be a change. Wisps of light gray mirage fog, quickly swept to the leaves surrounded by fire. Shwa! Without any hesitation, Tian's palm brushed forward and immediately put the evil fog into the burning ground fire. As soon as the mirage fog entered the ground fire, a shrill howl suddenly sounded, and then, from the surface of the fire, there appeared a fist-sized head shadow, which suddenly floated up, roared ferociously, and bit heavily at Tian. What the hell is this? Even Tian, seeing this scene, can't help but get a fright. But fortunately, the flame's head was empty, and the power of the body seemed not strong enough. It just rushed to the position 30 centimeters away from Tian, and then disappeared between heaven and earth. You damn kill! 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 But at this time, along the mirage outside the fire, the voice of the vicissitudes of life, hoarse and irritable, sounded again, and as Tian felt, the violence in the words, compared with before, was obviously more powerful than before. What's more, the voice said in nearly complete sentence. Is it difficult for me to wake up the consciousness existing in the mirage? This discovery, let Leaf Day in the heart startle, faintly have a kind of not good premonition. At this time, with the sound of falling, the mirage slowly dissipated, no longer exists. There are still more than 2 days to go before the mirage is closed. The rest of the time, I'll explore the secret of this place to see if I can find out the way to crack this strange rule. If I can do the best, if I can't, I'm not in vain. Soon, Tian calmed down, spread his mind, and made a more detailed exploration of the alchemy room. Unfortunately, the alchemy room has experienced locust transit. In addition to the fire cannot be moved, other things have been collected. Go to find Yen Bing and Yun Fei. After Tian is disappointed, he makes a decision, changes direction, and rushes to the building group agreed with Yen Bing and others. Strange, although mirage fog is terrible, people who have been to mirage before say that the frequency is not high. Why is it so frequent this time? Only today, I have met 4 times. Yes, the frequency of mirage fog is quite abnormal. Is there any secret treasure in the mirage about to be born, which leads to the abnormal sign of mirage fog? Along the way, Tian met many mountain people, and almost every mountain person was discussing mirage fog. These words of the mountain people made Tian feel ashamed. This change of mirage fog is not a secret treasure at all. It's just his anger, but he can't do anything about it. In desperation, he turns to take these mountain people to vent his anger. In a word, these people also suffered from reckless disasters because of him, and they were in constant fear. More than an hour later, Tian successfully arrived at the building complex built on the mountain. However, to Tian's surprise, the buildings are covered with green rust, which gives people a mysterious feeling in the old. These houses are made of metal and bronze. Tian looked carefully and found that the buildings were all made of bronze, ancient but magnificent, giving people a strong sense of history. Not only the walls and foundations, but also the tiles on the top of the buildings are all cast in bronze, one by one, like dark blue fish scales, dense, and still magnificent even after years of invasion. Tian is tongue-tied, some can't calm down in his heart. As far as he can see, these bronze houses are cast in one time. It is absolutely a very high-level refiner who can refine such a large building complex. What a magnificent existence has ever existed in this pure land of cultivation. And where is the power that once existed here? We got these things by our own means. How can we give them to you? Just as Yi Tian looked at the bronze buildings, Mu Qingqing's angry voice came along the buildings. You're in trouble? Hearing the sound, Yi Tian's eyes changed and quickly walked towards the buildings. It's the three of them. Yi Tian's eyes swept, and immediately saw that Mu Qingqing and others were confronting with three Taoists. Yi Tian was no stranger to these three people. They were the people who had been driven away from the alchemy room by him not long ago. Little girl, when do people on the mountain pay attention to their own means? Good things are always owned by the strong. At this time, the leading Taoist priest of Xiankong Gate, looking at Mu Qingqing, sneered and said, "Hand over the lotus seed of dragon scale lotus, I can spare you from death." Mu Qingqing was so angry that her cheek turned white. She held the lotus seed tightly. She was angry and regretful. Anger is the outrage of these Taoist priests. As for regret, it is regret that you should not take the lotus seed of dragon scale lotus, but should give it to Yi Tian Lai for safekeeping. In that case, how could she be in trouble now? 3. You are so unreasonable. It seems that there is something wrong with you. When Cheng frowned, not only dissatisfied with Mu Qingqing's disclosure of her property, but also angry at the attitude of the Taoist priest. Unreasonable? You are also a prefecture-level person. Don't you know that among the people on the mountain, big fists are the biggest reason? The leader of the suspended door Taoist laughed and looked at Wen Chang. His face was full of ridicule, which made Wen Chang pale as paper. Qingqing, give them the lotus seeds. Yunfei stares at the suspended door. After three people have a look, they make a decision quickly. Among the three Taoists in Xiankong Gate, those with the lowest accomplishments were all in the early stage of the prefecture level, which they could not compete with at all. It's better to spend money to eliminate disaster than to fight for death. Elder Marshal's sister. Mu Qingqing hears the sound and looks at Yunfei. Her cheeks are red and almost ready to cry. Don't worry, Elder Marshal's sister will find something better later. Cloud Fei looked at Mu Green to smile, warm voice way. Suspended door three people sneer more than, in the eye mocks the cold light to twinkle. With their low accomplishments, what if they find something good? You know, in the mirage, what matters is not what good things you find, but whether you can keep them. If you keep it, it's yours. If you can't keep it, you are making wedding clothes for others. And not only in the mirage, but also in the sea area outside the mirage. Those mountain people who have already entered the mirage and can't enter the mirage for the second time are afraid that they have already laid an ambush everywhere, looking for the chance to seize the treasure. When a mirage opens, it's not to turn the sea into a bloody red. Little girl, hand over the lotus seeds quickly. If you procrastinate and annoy me, don't blame me for being impolite. The leader of the suspended door Taoist, impatient, urged repeatedly. Mu Qingbei clenched his red lips, his eyes were red, and tears were already in his eyes. However, no matter how much he was unwilling to do, he slowly raised his hand and handed the lotus seed to the three Taoists. How are you going to be rude? But at this time, Yi Tian stood out, looking at the back of the Taoist priest, Light Wei. It's him. Why is he here? As soon as the Taoist of Xiankong Gate heard the familiar voice, he immediately looked back. When he saw Yi Tian Ho, he could not help shivering. The pictures of the ground fire flying in the air before, even up to now, make them panic. Disappear immediately, I can think that nothing happened. Yi Tian looks at these Taoist people with indifference and says coldly. Boy, you are too arrogant. Listening to Yi Tian's words, the leader of the Taoist priest of the suspended door clenched his teeth and sneered, Open your eyes and see, there is no ground fire here to help you. If we add up the three brothers, can we not be your opponent alone? Congratulations, that's right. Yi Tian is indifferent to smile, Light Wei. Kill him. Find the pill. The leader of the suspended door Taoist heard Yi Tian's words, and his lung was almost angry. With a move, he took two younger martial brothers and rushed towards Yi Tian. Many people must be powerful? Yi Tian sneer, fist shock, Light Wei, you just said fist big is the truth? Then I'll tell you about it today. Bang!
At the moment when the words fell, Yi Tian's body leaped and appeared in front of the leading Taoist priest. Before he could react, he hit him in the chest and made a dull sound.
Dong!
As soon as the dull sound sounded, the leader's body immediately flew up like a broken kite and fell heavily on the bronze wall. As soon as his head tilted, he fainted. At this time, Yi Tian turns around in the air, holding the necks of the other two Taoist priests, just like an eagle grabbing chickens, grabbing their necks and throwing them out.
Dong! Dong!
In a flash, there were two dull sounds, and the two suspended Taoist priests ran into the walls of the bronze buildings.
The violent impact made them faint. Mu Qingqing is stunned, staring at Yi Tian, almost unable to say a word.
She knew Yi Tianxiang, but she didn't expect that he was so strong that he regarded the three people on the mountain as nothing and solved them with his fists and fists.
More than Mu Qingqing, everyone present, except Yan Bing who had seen Yi Tian's method, was stunned and couldn't believe it.
The fierce cobra is terrible, but the heart is more terrible than the fierce cobra.
Put the lotus seeds away, and don't take them out unless you get something better later.
At this time, Yi Tian turns his head and looks at Mu Qingqing.
Mu Qingqing doesn't talk back to Yi Tian this time. Instead, she returns Lianzi to Yunfei.
What happened just now made her fully aware of one thing. She thinks that Yi Tian is extremely evil, but in fact, compared with those guys in the hanging door, Yi Tian is as kind as an angel. Because, if it is to let those people in the hanging door have Yi Tian's cultivation strength, I'm afraid what those people just have to do is not just to take away the lotus seeds.
Master Yi, we meet again.
At this time, Shi Yan and the middle-aged man came in from the bronze buildings.
When they saw Yaho, Shi Yan's charming fox eyes immediately completed a pair of crescent moon, which seemed to be very happy.
What a beautiful girl. When Cheng sees sunset, brow can't help a wrinkle, toward the leaf day fierce stare. My future son-in-law is not only a little playful, but also very playful.
Master Yi, I have good news here. Do you want to know?
She looks at Yi Tian with a beautiful smile. Even Yan Bing, who is also a girl, can't help but feel waves when she looks at her eyes.
What news, say it.
Yi Tian light mouth, eyes, clear as water. When he first saw the sunset, he found that the girl's practice seemed to be a kind of seductive skill. However, this kind of skill is really nothing to him who cultivates Sui Wangwen and has powerful mind. When the mirage was opened last time, one of my elder martial brothers passed by and saw an illusion in this bronze building complex. Unfortunately, the mirage was close at that time, and he had no time to explore it carefully. Therefore, it was up to Mr. Wang and I to explore it carefully this time.
We are both weak, so we want to find a master to help us. I don't know if Master Yi is willing to. The sunset saw that Yi Tian was not moved by himself.
He was surprised to see that he was passing by, but he still kept smiling.
Array master?
Yi Tian hears the sound and looks at the middle-aged man beside him with great interest.
The master of array, hence the name of civic, is a master of field array.
He really did not expect that there are people who are proficient in this way on the earth today.
Just a little bit.
Wang Jinsher nodded lightly, and his eyes showed a touch of arrogance. But he did not dare to show too much because he had seen Yi Tian manipulate the earth fire before.
That's good, too. Yi Tian nodded at will, light way.
Wang's face sank when he heard the news.
He was obviously upset.
He said a little understanding, just modest, but listen to Yi Tian's meaning, but it seems that he really thinks he only knows a little. But he didn't know that Yi Tian's attainments in the field array were not as high as Dan Dao's, but he was also among the top 20 in the square-inch spirit field. In the eyes of such a strong man as him, Wang's so-called array master is really a little understanding with a lot of water. What vision did your elder martial brother see here? Yi Tian doesn't pay attention to Wang, but looks at the sunset and continues to ask. Mirage, everywhere strange, there are illusions, not normal things, there should be another secret. However, he was not sure whether Shi Yan's words were deceiving him or true, so he had to ask clearly. What my elder martial brother sees here is a coffin made of white jade. According to him, the coffin is covered with a layer of vines, on which is a flower with delicate color, red body, and gold silk. According to the records of our clan, if there is no mistake, it should be a legendary flower on the other side of the river. Sunset's smile is still, not slow, slowly way.
Other shore flower?
Yi Tian's eyes changed slightly when he heard the words.
The flower on the other side is the place where the cathode is born, which makes the body of the extreme yang and the transformation of yin and yang, so it is called the flower on the other side. This is a very strong medicine. It doesn't need refining at all. Just swallow it to help you improve your accomplishments.
However, the strength of the other shore flower lies not only in its medicinal properties, but also in its ability to transform the ordinary constitution into a pure yang body. This kind of constitution, if you cultivate the pure yang attribute, can be described as 1,000 miles in a day.
The future is immeasurable, not to mention, because the flowers on the other side are born in the cathode. There is a little yuaning hidden in the pure yang, which can make people who swallow the flowers turn into the pure yang body. Don't worry that, like those who are born with pure yang constitution, they will have excessive yang qi and become possessed by the devil. This thing, even if it is placed in the square-inch spirit field, is as rare as the congenital spirit wood. The other side flower is extremely precious, so the little girl estimated that there must be unknowable fierce beasts around the other side flower, and the coffin on which the other side flower grows is also quite strange, so she wanted to find a trusted expert to help. Master Yi, your skill is naturally high enough, and as soon as I see you, I feel confident. Xian looked at Yi Tian, giggled a few times, and then said, however, there is only one flower on the other side. How to distribute it in the end, we have to rely on our own ability. Now that you know my accomplishments are high, you are not afraid that I will make you unable to get flowers on the other side by virtue of my accomplishments? Yi Tian looks at the sunset and says with a calm smile. You don't have to worry about that, Mr. Yi. Xian covered her mouth with a smile, her eyes twinkled and blinked, as if she were really like a cunning fox. I'd made an appointment with them to work together and how to arrange it. Yi Tian knows that the girl named Xian is not simple. He doesn't ask anymore. He points to Yan Bing and Yunfei and others with his backhand and says, there are many people and great strength. Since these sisters and uncles are with Mr. Yi, I can trust them. Xian seems to be very confident about her cards. She thinks she can deal with Yi Tian and Yan Bing and others at the same time. She does not hesitate to allow Yan Bing and Yunfei to act together. In this case, it's up to the Master Wang. How about you have the confidence to find out the hidden field array here? Yi Tian chuckled and then turned to look at Wang, saying, ha ha. With a gloomy face and a cold hum full of confidence, Wang continued, the field array is different from the others. It's not that if you are high in cultivation, you will be strong. There's no one in the world who can't find the field array. You'll wait and see. This guy is confident. Yi Tian was dumbfounded, but he was also looking forward to seeing the accomplishments of the first array master he saw on Earth. At this time, Wang took out a piece of tortoise shell about the size of a palm from his pocket and engraved with 8 trigrams on his back. Array disc. Yi Tian sees the tortoise shell and his eyes move. He could see that the tortoise shell was the unique array disc of the array master, and he could use it to explore the field array. However, the level of Wang's array is relatively low. It is estimated that it is only at the level of heavy weapons. But even so, it's good to have such a complete array on Earth. Field out, array out. Immediately after that, Master Wang held the tortoise shell tightly, infused his internal power, and made the tortoise shell emit a faint blue light. While reciting words, he kept walking in the bronze buildings. Master Yi, how is Master Wang's attainments in this field? Xian stares at Wang's action. After looking at it, her eyes are like crescent moon. She looks at Yi Tian and asks with a smile. As he said. Yi Tian is calm and smiles. As far as he can see, Wang's accomplishments in field array are really those 4 words, a little understanding. At least, the way he manipulated the array was wrong, or the worst. Haha, Master Yi is so ridiculous. Just wait for me to find out the field array here. Mr. Wang thought that what Yi Tian said was the second half of his previous boasting. On the originally gloomy face, there was more color. Hey, he said with a smile. Yi Tian is full of black lines. He knows that this guy may be wrong. However, looking at this guy's complacent appearance, he didn't want to poke,
waiting for this guy to hit himself in the face. Time passed in a flash, and soon more than 10 minutes passed.
How about Mr. Wang? Still not found?
Yan Bing looks at the appearance of the old god in the Wang formation.
He can't help but be impatient and mutters. You think it's so easy to find out the field array? Why don't you come?
Wang Xianshi blew his nose and glared at him. He handed the tortoise shell forward.
He was not happy.
Yan Bing hears the sound and talks with her face.
Mr. Wang, don't worry. Take your time. I'm sure you will succeed.
Seeing this, Shi Yan quickly comforted Wang, for fear that he would give up and lead to the failure of his plan. Wang Formation Division groans arrogantly twice, and then continues to carry the tortoise shell, left and right, looking for clues.
Another 20 minutes later. Mr. Wang, have you found anything?
This time, even the sunset, some cannot stand, although the smile is still, but the fundus is more impatient.
Wait a minute. This time, Wang's brow turned into a knot.
Under normal circumstances, it only takes him more than 10 minutes to find a field array. But this time, after tossing for so long, he didn't even get up.
It's a long time to wait and see. I'm almost asleep.
After Mu Qingqing yawned, he looked at the Wang formation with an impatient look on his face. This guy, the cow-eyed, blows loud, but in fact, his ability, as he said, is just a little common. Wang Formation Division's face is iron green, and he stares at Mu Qingqing fiercely. The color of his face is very strong.
I'll try.
Yi Tian sees this, the hand toward the King Formation Division a stretch, light way. He found that if he asked Wang to find a field array, he would be in trouble for a long time. Maybe the mirage opening time is over, and this guy hasn't found a field array here.
Can you do it?
Wang Formation Division hears a sound, the facial expression is one heavy, not happy of looking at Leaf Day. If it wasn't for Yi Tian's high strength, he would have smashed the tortoise shell on Yi Tian's head.
It should be a little better than you.
Yi Tianping smiles and raises his hand, putting the tortoise shell array in his palm.
Ha, I'll wait and see. Wang's palm is empty.
He looks at Yi Tian with a smile and wants to wait to see the picture of Yi Tian making a fool of himself.
Array ahead.
At this time, Yi Tian pinches the Yin Ju with both hands, drinks it in his mouth, and then turns to the tortoise shell array. In a flash, the tortoise shell array plate vibrated immediately, and then a piece of green light came out along it and fell on the dome, the wall, and the ground. Then, like flowing water, it started from the position of the people, divided into two streams, and quickly rushed to the front and the rear. All the people who watched this scene were stunned. Although they don't know how Yi Tian did it, and whether this technique is effective or not, there is no doubt that Yi Tian's performance is obviously better than Wang's.
Why do I think it's a little bit like the way I imagine a Chinese array master? After a long time, Mu Qingqing whispered.
Hearing the words, they all nodded their heads together and thought it was true. When Wang heard this, his face turned red and embarrassed.
He wished he could find a way to get in. There's something in the back.
At this time, Yi Tian's eyes flashed, turned back and said in a deep voice. Seeing this, they immediately followed Yi Tian and walked backward.
This is...
Soon, the crowd stopped and looked at the front, wondering. In the air in front of them, in the middle of the cyan light curtain at the moment, there is a whirlpool of light, which is constantly circling and twisting, just a few breaths, as if there were thousands of changes.
This is the eye of the field array. If you want to open the field array, you must open the eye. Yi Tianping explains a static way. I'm an array master, I'll crack it.
Wang, hearing the news, could not help but say, strode towards the eyes of the array and went over, trying to pull back a game.
Don't go there.
The Leaf Day hears a sound, eyebrow a wrinkly, low drinks away. But as if Wang could not hear him, he raised his hand and stretched it out to his eyes.
Whoosh! Almost at the moment when Wang's hand touched the eye of the array, an amazing scene appeared.
A brilliant blue light suddenly shot out from the eyes of the array, and then fell on the hand of Wang.
Boom! Just a touch, the blue light immediately spread along Wang's fingers and swept his whole body.
Moreover, every time the blue light passed by, a thick layer of miserable white frost appeared where it passed.
Ah! Save, help me!
Wang turned around and held out his hand to Yi Tian and others. But before his hand was fully raised, his voice suddenly stopped. Then he was completely covered by frost and became an ice sculpture. This. All the people in the hall look creepy, looking at the Wang formation who has become an ice sculpture, and their faces are shocked. Hiss! At this time, the blue light shot out from Wang's body and rushed to the nearest sunset. At the end of the day, she was so scared that she lost her face. She could not help screaming, for fear that she would repeat the mistake of turning Wang into an ice sculpture. Bang! But at this time, Yi Tian fingers flexion a bullet, a stone fly out, heavy hit on the blue light, will be shot down to the ground, revealing the real body. To everyone's surprise, it was a long lizard with blue scales all over its body. Although it was not big, it could be very fierce. After landing, it even spit out letters to Yi Tian and sent out bursts of hiss. The sound of a threat. I can't believe there is such a thing here. Yi Tian looked at the blue lizard and was surprised. Master Yi, what is this? The setting face presses the panic in the heart, looking at the leaf sky to doubt away. Blue scale ice lizard. Yi Tian said faintly, it's long, blue and scaly. It lives in the cathode. It can breathe cold and freeze its prey. It's restrained by fire. Hiss. Tian took a breath of cold air, and then nervously said to Yi Tian, such a dangerous thing, Master Yi, try it quickly. It's no use killing one of them. Yi Tian looked at the setting face and then looked at the array eyes. His voice was a little strange and he said, the blue scale ice lizard has a characteristic that it likes to live in groups. Gregarious? The Leaf Day a language falls, the setting face and Yen Bing etc. immediately exclaim a voice, then full face nervous to look around. Hissing. Almost at the same time, along the position of the eye of the array, suddenly there was a dense voice of spitting, and then there was blue light blooming. Then, just less than 2 minutes later, along the eye of the array, as if there was a blue torrent, countless blue scale ice lizards climbed out of it and surrounded the crowd like dense locusts. Master Yi, what should we do? The sunset faded and screamed. Although Yen Bing and Yun Fei are not as impolite as she is, their little faces are pale and bloodless. As for Mu Qingqing, this little girl is obviously a little afraid of this kind of reptile. People are about to cry. She hides behind Yi Tian and keeps shaking. In fact, the appearance of the blue scale ice lizard is also a good news, which shows that our direction of exploration is right. There is indeed a cathode covered by the field array here. Yi Tian looks at everyone's appearance, a burst of funny at the bottom of his heart, light way. Master, this is still a good thing. Sunset a burst of helpless, do not know that Yi Tian is a master of art, bold, or heart. The blue scale ice lizard is like a bee colony. It takes the queen of the lizard as its priority. As long as the lizard is removed, they will disperse by themselves because they have no head. You protect yourself. Don't let them get close to your body. I'll find the lizard back. After a deep voice, Yi Tian strides forward. Hiss. Seeing Yi Tian's action, a group of blue scale ice lizards immediately spit out dark purple letters and hiss in low bursts, as if threatening Yi Tian. How dare you dare to threaten the emperor just because you are such a bad little beast? Seeing this, Yi Tian smiles coldly and shouts, Fire boom! In a flash, a fireball suddenly appeared and hit the blue scale ice lizard group. When the fireball fell, the blue scale ice lizard immediately hissed and screamed, ran around and was burned to death. However, there are too many blue scale ice lizards here. Even though Yi Tian's fire burning technique is very good, a large number of blue scale ice lizards will soon come to fill the gap created by the fireball burning. Not only that, these blue scale ice lizards are also very intelligent. When they find Yi Tian's strength is strong and some of them are unable to deal with it, they immediately turn around and start to attack Yen Bing, Yun Fei, and Wen Chang. Wen Chang can't help but draw out his sword and dance out many sword flowers in the air, blocking the attack of the blue scale ice lizard. Yun Fei, Yan Bing, and Shi Yan, with their own weapons, follow the law and kill the attacking blue scale ice lizard. Although several people join hands to temporarily block the attack of the blue scale ice lizard, the cold breath of the blue scale ice lizard still made their blades grow a thick layer of frost, and spread constantly, making the hand holding the blade feel like holding a heavy piece of ice, with a sense of numbness. Yi Tian, after you find the lizard, we won't last long.
When Chang's hand shakes hard and shakes the frost away, he shouts to Yi Tian.
Yi Tian nodded, his mind dispersed, feeling around, trying to find the trace of the lizard. But it's a pity that the lizard's back was evaporated out of thin air, and it couldn't feel its breath at all. It is obvious that the queen lizard is extremely clever and does not appear. She is still hiding in the space covered by the field array.
Do you think I can't help hiding in the array? Since you don't come out, I'll force you out.
Yi Tian sneers, mana runs, and the original spirit fire in the elixir field suddenly floats out.
After breaking through the 5th floor of the cave, Yi Tian's strength has been improved again.
He has been able to use the original spirit fire for a short time without damaging the original vitality.
Boom!
In a flash, the whole bronze palace suddenly turned into a hot summer, and a terrible heat wave suddenly spread out. That kind of feeling makes people feel that even the surrounding bronze is about to melt. The blue scale ice lizard is very sensitive to heat. As soon as the temperature rises, they become restless and slow.
What kind of means is it? How can it be so powerful?
This terrible heat not only makes the blue scale ice lizard feel frightened, but also makes Xian, Yanbing and Yunfei feel shocked. Wow, at this time, the blue scale ice lizards, who were attacking the group, suddenly stopped their attack, followed, as if inspired by some kind of inspiration, like the waves at the ebb tide, quickly retreated and retracted their eyes.
What's the matter? Have they given up?
Seeing this, Wen Sheng couldn't help wondering.
Ah, it's terrible, it's terrible.
At this time, Mu Qingqing pointed to the position of the array eyes, suddenly pale and screamed loudly.
This is...
Hearing this, the crowd fixed their eyes on it and immediately couldn't help but gasp. Along the position of the array eye, a huge lizard's head came out at the moment, followed by the lizard's body. But if you look at it carefully, you will find that the huge blue scale ice lizard is not an individual, but is formed by countless blue scale ice lizards holding each other's tails.
Not only that, these blue scale ice lizards are not motionless, but they are constantly crawling. They are so dense and crawling.
If people with intensive phobia are here, they are afraid that they will faint just by looking at them. I'm deep enough to use the body of other blue scale ice lizards as a shield to protect myself.
Yi Tian looks at this strange giant blue scale ice lizard and can't help feeling.
These blue scale ice lizards are terrible. Mu Qingqing was startled, and everyone jumped up and trembled. Yan Bing, Yunfei, Xian and Wen Sheng look at each other face to face. Even though they are mountain people, they can't help but feel numb on their scalp and cold on their back when they see this huge creature composed of dense blue scale ice lizards.
Whoa!
At this time, the giant blue scale ice lizard suddenly opened its mouth, and then a blue cold breath, like a sharp arrow, shot towards Yi Tian. As soon as the cold breath appeared, the whole bronze palace immediately became like an ice cellar, which made people feel that as long as it was stained with a star and a half, I was afraid that the whole blood would freeze into ice.
It's a bit of a doorstep. But it's not enough to deal with me.
Yi Tian smiles indifferently, raises his hand and says coldly, the fire of origin is burning.
Boom!
In a flash, a fireball mixed with the original spirit fire suddenly flew out and collided with the cold breath heavily. When the two touched each other, the cold breath melted into a burst of white air and dissipated between the heaven and the earth. However, the fireball continued to attack the giant blue scale ice lizard.
Hissing.
When the fireball came, the tail of the giant blue scale ice lizard suddenly raised and hit the fireball heavily.
Bang!
With a dull sound, the tail of the giant blue scale ice lizard smashed the fireball. The huge air impact immediately shocked Wen Chang and others like a broken kite, flying upside down and falling to the ground. Then, the big mouth of the giant blue scale ice lizard opened, and the blue cold breath, like dense rain, suddenly flew towards Yi Tian. As soon as the terrible offensive appeared, the surface of the bronze buildings was suddenly covered with frost. That kind of feeling, just like a person came to the cold storage which has been closed for hundreds of years in an instant, the bone chilling went straight into the bone crack, and the cold made people shiver.
How many? Will it be useful? Yi Tian sneers indifferently, and his mind moves.
The fierce sword suddenly appears in the palm of his hand. Immediately after that, Tian pinches the sword formula in his hand, and immediately sends out a sharp momentum like a sheath sword along his whole body.
What a powerful gas engine! Does it mean that Tian still retains his strength when dealing with fierce cobra before? When Chang and others look at Tian with fright, they are shocked. They only feel that the sword in the air makes their skin tingle like being criticized. Not only a few of them, but also Queen Lizard felt a huge crisis at the moment. She was crazy and spewed out one cold breath after another towards Tian. It's a pity that those cold breath, shrouded in the sword spirit of the flying sword, were all blocked out. One by one, they fell heavily to the ground, fell apart and disappeared. Zheng. Immediately after that, Tian's hand was raised, and the fierce sword clanged. Then he suddenly shuttled back and forth, and rushed to the giant blue scale ice lizard. A sword flew out, and immediately turned into a bright light. The whole bronze building group trembled for a moment, and a terrible breath swept away quickly. Hissing. When the flying sword comes, the lizard makes a piercing hiss, but people in the hall can feel a kind of fear from its voice. With its sound, the blue scale ice lizard suddenly began to crawl, quickly changed from a huge blue scale ice lizard into a thick shield to block the incoming flying sword. Do you think it is useful to take the lives of your descendants to protect your own lives? Tian sneers. Whoa! The moment the words fell, the blade of the fierce soldier's flying sword had already touched the shield composed of the blue scale ice lizard. Under the sharp edge of the sword, the blue scale ice lizard is as vulnerable as a local chicken and tile dog. At the touch of the sword, they all fall apart. In the blink of an eye, the fierce soldier's flying sword had gone deep into the shield. But even so, under the control of the lizard queen, the blue scale ice lizards still sacrificed their lives to keep climbing. They tried to use their bodies to block the sword and give the lizard queen a chance to survive. Unfortunately, all these attempts were in vain before the sword. No matter how many blue scale ice lizards come near, as long as they touch the edge of the sword, they are all divided into two parts, and their broken bodies fall to the ground like fallen leaves. Hiss ah! After a few breaths, the fierce soldier's flying sword suddenly penetrated the shield formed by many blue scale ice lizards. Then, along the group of blue scale ice lizards, there was a shrill and strange howl. The next second, the blue scale ice lizard, which was originally in a group, just like the flood of breaking the dike, suddenly dispersed, and then ran away in all directions, disappearing outside the bronze buildings. On the ground, there was a lizard about half a foot long, jade white, whose head had been cut off from its neck by a sharp sword. Obviously, this albino blue scale ice lizard is the queen. With one move, Tian called back the flying sword suspended above the back of the lizard, bent down to pick up the corpse of the back of the lizard. He pushed his hand towards the back of the lizard's belly. Along its broken neck, a round object with blood, lavender and amethyst appeared. It's a demon pill. Tian took the demon Dan to bump, then put it into the storage ring. It's useless to him, but it can't be better to take it to Shaoli Zi. It can not only improve his cultivation, but also improve his physique, so that he can go further in the future. The lizard, who can speak, was killed by him with one sword. Shi Yen Zhang looking at Tian's back, heart suddenly some uneasy. She doesn't know whether her backhand can limit the strength of Tian. But she also knew that without Tian's help, with Wang's strength and her own means, not to mention getting the flowers on the other side, I'm afraid she would not even have the chance to see the flowers on the other side. The solution. At this time, Tian's magic power was running with both hands, and he kept sketching in the air. Like a cocoon, he stirred the swirling brilliance at the eye of the array. When the invisible light touched Tian's fingers, it was like a real string. With the movement of his hands, one by one, it dispersed. Every time a ray of light comes out, Yan Bing and Yun Fei feel that along the position of the array eye, there is a cold breath. It seems that there is a huge space behind the array eye. A little later, the originally whirlpool-like eyes suddenly spread out, followed by a flower in front of everyone's eyes. Then, a sharp chill suddenly came from the front of the body. That kind of bone-chilling, even let everyone can't help but close their eyes. My God! What is this? And when people open their eyes, everyone opens their eyes and screams. See, at the moment in their life in the void, is strange incomparable appeared a door.
Behind the door, there is a dark space. At the entrance, there is a rugged step mountain road, and at the end, there is a square platform. This arrangement, it seems, is very similar to the altar.
On the platform, there is a dark vine.
The vine stretches out into the air like a chain tightly around a huge coffin made of lingyu, and it is suspended in the air. Although it has been countless years, the spirit of those lingyu still does not dissipate, emitting milky warm light, which is extremely mysterious.
Not only that, in front of the coffin, on the black vine, there was a red flower with a touch of gold, full of the size of a sea bowl. Delicate, vigorous flowers bloom on the dead coffin, which seems to be so contradictory, or so strange.
The other shore flower. See the moment of this beautiful flower, Tian and sunset, immediately lost his voice.
This other shore flower is mine.
The next second, staring at the sunset of the flower on the other side, his eyes showed a color of intoxication. With one step, he rushed into the space behind the strange door and rushed to the platform along the steps. Seeing this, Tian's eyes flashed and quickly followed him into the space covered by the field array.
Let's keep up.
Yan Bing and others see this, a deep voice, followed by Tian.
Mine, this other shore flower is mine, no one can take it away.
At this time, Shi Yan had rushed to the last step, and reached out her trembling hands because of excitement, and grabbed the flowers on the other side.
Bang! Bang!
Creak! Creak! But before Sunset's hand touched the other side flower, the jade coffin wrapped by the vine of the other side flower suddenly swayed gently without wind, making bursts of qingyue sound like a jade chime striking and colliding. Then from the coffin, there came bursts of sharp and harsh sound like a long nail scratching the wall. These two kinds of incompatible voices suddenly came from a coffin. The discordance and strangeness made all the people in the room climb up and down with goosebumps. Creak creak fingernail scratch sound, sharp and harsh, one after another, chilling, cold sweat dripping. The setting face nearest to the coffin, at the moment of hearing the sound, was even more trembling. She fell to the ground and almost didn't roll down the steps.
Why does the coffin make such a sound? Are the people or creatures in the coffin still alive? However, how many years has it been since Mirage appeared? How can a man live so long when he has been sealed in this coffin for so long, and he can't see any source of life to supplement it? Everyone was staring at the huge lingyu coffin, and their eyes were full of fear and wonder, unable to understand what was going on in front of them. Not to mention these people, even Tian was awe-inspiring and sent out his thoughts to the coffin. But strangely, when Tian's idea touched Lingyu's coffin, he only felt that a piece of golden light flashed in front of his eyes, which isolated his idea and made him unable to get close to it. He even felt a stabbing pain. In a short time, he could not mobilize his idea anymore. There's even the ability to block and counter divine thoughts. The leaf day is tiny how tongue, in the heart awe-inspiring. It's so scary here. Why don't we leave?
Mu Qingqing has the least courage. She is so scared that she looks pale.
She grabs the corner of Yunfei's clothes tightly. Her teeth tremble and she says, "No matter what's in it, I must get the flowers on the other side."
At this time, the setting face on the platform also strengthened his courage. After struggling to stand up from the ground, his eyes flashed a color of determination. He raised his hand and grabbed the other flower on the coffin. But almost at the moment when her hand was close to the coffin, a scene that made everyone's soul chill appeared.
Creak click, I saw that, with a harsh sound, the coffin of Lingyu opened a gap slowly.
Then, a hand as white as jade stretched out from the crevice, like a corpse in the coffin, to sit up from the coffin. However, it's strange that the hand, as white as jade, is neither wrinkled nor shriveled. On the contrary, it's as delicate as a woman's delicate hand.
It's almost flawless.
The corpse. It's a corpse. Mu Qingqing was in a panic, exclaimed, and tears came out in an instant. Not only Mu Qingqing, Yan Bing, Yunfei, and Wen Cheng all stepped back. Poop. And the setting face that is closest to Lingyu's coffin is also frightened by this scene, so that her legs soften and she kneels to the ground directly. Creak creak click. At this time, the gap between the coffin and the coffin became larger and larger. Finally, the upper cover of the coffin suddenly opened and fell to the ground. Then, the plain white jade hand stretched out from the gap burst out and squeezed the edge of the coffin tightly.
Boom boom. Mu Qingqing's fear is inexplicable.
Although the whole person has been hiding behind Yunfei, the upper and lower teeth are still impacted uncontrollably, making bursts of crisp sound. Immediately, along the coffin of Lingyu, a section of snow-white arm protrudes out, deceiving frost and competing with snow. It is full of softness, and can't be seen as if it had been sealed by the coffin for a long time. Immediately, the lotus arm clenched the edge of Lingyu coffin, and a figure sat up slowly. It was a woman in a white costume, with long hair and a shawl. Surprisingly, she didn't know how many years she had been buried in the coffin, but her flesh and blood hadn't lost a scent, and her face was still amazing.
How can this happen? Everyone was shocked, stunned, and unbelievable.
But at this moment, everyone, including Tian, felt that in front of him, there were countless shining clouds in the sky and the earth. They were vast and boundless, just like the surging ocean, sending out a terrible wave of energy.
Boom!
Immediately after that, there were violent and terrible blasts in the void, and thunders with thick cupboards poured down toward the woman in white, just like a rainstorm. The terrible omen makes people feel that if we want to annihilate the whole space. This terrible sign of burning heaven and earth makes everyone feel that not only the body, but also the soul, will be crushed by the terrible force. No matter Wen Chang or Yunfei, Yanbing, Mu Qingqing and Su Qing, they are all kneeling on the ground, their heads clinging to the ground, and dare not lift a cent. This kind of breath makes them feel that this is the supreme power.
Man can't fight against heaven, let alone against Tianwei.
In this supreme power, there is no other choice but to prostrate and kneel to the ground and surrender to it.
Rob thunder. This is the thunder of breaking the border.
At this moment, Tian is the only one who can keep calm in the arena, and he has identified that the thunder above his head is not ordinary thunder, but the thunder that a powerful monk faces when he breaks through.
However, he cannot be sure for the time being, what kind of state is this caused by thunder robbery?
But almost at the moment when the thunder was approaching, the woman in white suddenly raised her slender hands, 2 long fingers, like an understatement. In a flash, an earth-shaking and terrifying energy wave suddenly broke out between the 2 white and slender fingers, and the thunder was washed away in an instant. God, everyone was shocked, including Tian, looking at the woman in white with a face full of shock. The thunder that just came down was obviously at the highest level, but it was just washed away by the white woman. What a terrible and powerful power! At this time, the woman in white got up slowly from the coffin of Lingyu. The white dress swayed like a fairy in the dust. Then she slowly raised her feet and stepped forward. A slender leg suddenly appeared in the skirt, although it was only a glance, but slender, white as jade, graceful beauty, people cannot resist. But it is this slender jade foot that makes people feel inexplicably that it is full of power. As long as you step on it and gently crush it on the ground, you can shake the ground and make countless cracks appear on the ground and collapse. Scatter! Closely following, the woman in white looks up and gently shakes her fingers towards the black clouds shining with gold. Boom! In a flash, a leaping flame suddenly appeared from the fingertips of the woman in white. The flame, only half a foot long, gently sways and shines with pure golden on. It is as blazing as a Mars, and can burn the sky and destroy the world. But it is like a lighthouse in a storm, giving people a sense of hope and peace. This time, the color of Tian's spirit completely changed. He was staring at the flame with trembling eyes.
He could not be more familiar with the flame.
Because that is the original spirit fire condensed from the cultivation of Sui Wangwen. However, the original spirit fire condensed by the woman in white has completely become the essence, far more than he does now. However, Tian really can't understand why he found the skill handed down by the mysterious Sui Emperor in the square-inch spiritual realm on the white woman in a spirit jade coffin in the mirage. Is it true that, as he thought before, there has been an intersection between Fengsuan spiritual realm and the earth, and the intersection is extremely close? Boom! The next second, the original spirit fire suddenly flew, straight to the sky shining with golden clouds. The moment the flame fell into the dark clouds, the light of the fire suddenly spread out. In an instant, the whole dark sky turned into red like a flame. And this vision, just a second, all the red light in the sky will disappear. Immediately, all the dark clouds are invisible, replaced by the boundless blue sky.
Fire and thunder.
Tian looked at the sky where the dark clouds were scattered. His eyes were sluggish and his mind was in a trance. Even when he was in the square-inch spirit field, he didn't have such powerful means. In Yi Tian's opinion, the level of robbing thunder is not the level of Yupu realm, but the level of Tiangong realm.
However, while determining the realm of the woman in white, Yi Tian inevitably thought of a few questions. Who is the woman in white? How could a woman who was so beautiful and powerful in heaven be sealed in the coffin of Lingyu, and make this pure land of cultivation look like today's ruin? Many questions haunt Yi Tian, making him unable to think of an answer. But he can be sure that this mirage, there is a big secret. As for Wen Shang, Yan Bing and Yun Fei, they can't say a word now. There was never a moment when they felt that they were so small as mountain people. Is this the way of ancient practitioners? It's so holy and mysterious that it can ignore the terrible power of heaven. Even the terrible Tian Wei, in front of them, was as weak and ridiculous as a mole ant. But at this time, the woman in white suddenly turns her head and looks at the position of Yi Tian and others. Her eyes were like cold electricity, which made people feel frightened. Her legs were shaking, and there was a chill in her heart. It's over. She's looking at us. She sees us. Mu Qingqing saw this, a sad sound. People are about to be scared to cry. The woman in white is too strong. Compared with her, the blue-scale ice lizard is as weak and ridiculous as a tiny mole ant. Not to mention Mu Qingqing, even Yi Tian is hairy at the moment. Even he felt that the woman in white was mysterious and could not compete. Break into the forbidden area, disturb me to rest in peace, die. At this time, the woman in white is cold-chide voice, and then the slender hands raised, a burning flame suddenly appeared, and then, toward Yi Tian and others will roar. It's over. We're going to die here. Seeing the action of the woman in white, Mu Qingqing made a shrill voice, full of despair. Not only her, Yan Bing, Jun Fei, Xian and Wen Shang are also desperate. The white dress woman's method, even the heavenly power can blow already to disperse, naturally not to mention is they several. At the moment when the first sunset was infected with the mysterious flame, there was a burning flame on the body, and the whole person seemed to be a fireman, struggling and twisting in the same place, giving out bursts of shrill roars. In the next second, Yan Bing, Yun Fei, Mu Qingqing, Wen Shang and Su Cheng were in the same blaze and turned into 5 firemen. They were frantically struggling and howling on the ground, and their voices were so shrill that they were shaking. Boom! At the same time, Yi Tian saw that along the palm of his hand, there was a flash of flame at the moment, and along the fingertips, it spread rapidly, and suddenly swept the whole body. Then, a terrible hot force diffused, making him feel that his hair and skin were immediately scorched by the terrible heat, and the flesh and blood were also evaporating and shriveling. Even along his nose, he could smell the pungent smell of barbecue paste. But the strange thing is that even if he is burned like this by the flame, he can't hear a half-cry from Yi Tian's mouth. Even he doesn't wriggle on the ground like Yan Bing and Yun Fei, trying to put out the fire. Instead, he still stands in the same place and looks straight ahead with his eyes. Your illusion method is really good, but it's a pity that you imitate the wrong person and find the wrong opponent. All of a sudden, along the flame, suddenly came the cold and calm voice of Yi Tian. Next, he raised his hand to the front and gave a slap. Hum! This palm is full of strength and roars. In an instant, it rushes towards Yi Tian's body. If you want to clean up the surrounding area. And at the moment when the palm wind fell, Yi Tian looked down and immediately saw that his hands, which had been covered by the flame and had been burned to blood and flesh, had recovered as usual. What's more, he saw that Xian, Yanbing, Yunfei, Xuqing and Wenchang were all in good health, but they were just like crazy demons, rolling on the ground like crazy, howling in their mouths. When he looked at the platform at the top of the steps, he immediately found that there was no trace of Lingyu coffin on the platform, only a vine was blooming quietly. This flower is not the other shore flower they saw before, but the whole body is red and black, like the blood that is about to solidify. And along the huge and beautiful flowers, there is pollen like amethyst powder floating out at the moment, to the position of Yi Tian and others. Not only that, he saw that there was some purple powder left between the nose of Xian and Yanbing. Obviously, it's the pollen that makes them hallucinate. Water transport. Without any hesitation, Yi Tian immediately uses Daoshu to urge the water ball to smash at the people who collapsed and howled to dispel the illusion with cool water. I'm still alive. Where's the flame in me? What's going on?
I can see clearly that my whole body is covered with flames.
How can I not even have a trace of fire?
When they opened their eyes and saw their own condition, they were happy and surprised. At that moment, they all thought they were going to be burned to death by the fire, but who could have imagined that there was no trace of burning all over them?
What about Ling Yu coffin?
What about the mysterious woman in white then? When people cast their eyes on the platform, they found a more incredible thing. Before the growth of the other side of the flower, hanging Ling Yu coffin, standing on the platform of a woman in white, now in addition to a dark black plant, unexpectedly nothing exists. This flower is called the dark lotus.
It grows in the cathode. Pollen can cause hallucination.
When we enter here, we have inhaled pollen unconsciously, so we have hallucination. Tian, hearing the words, explained to the crowd in a deep voice.
Hallucination, then the real picture, can it be hallucination? Mu Qingqing is stunned.
If it's not confirmed by the picture in front of her, she really can't believe it's an illusion. Tian's eyes are shining and his thoughts are flying. Before that, when the woman in white appeared and burned in Rob Thunder, the breath and the feeling did not seem like an illusion, because he could clearly perceive the breath of Sui Wangwen's idea. However, the scene before us shows that the scene just now is indeed an illusion. Not only that, but also because of Sui Wangwen's idea, he found that everything was an illusion. Because, when the last flame appeared on him, he found that he could not feel the breath of Sui Wangwen's idea from the flame. It was from then on that he realized that everything was an illusion.
In other words, it's not all illusions.
Tian thinks that the period when the woman in white appeared, and the scene of a fire killing the thunder, may be the memory of this lotus, so it is very real. Only when the woman in white at the back gives them a hand is the illusion made by Ming Lian out of thin air.
Who fortunately, it's an illusion. I just thought I was going to die here. Mu Qingqing reaches out her hand and pats her chest.
No, hallucinations can kill people. If we are not awakened by Tian just now, we will be deceived by hallucinations all the time, and feel that we are burned by the flame. At that time, either our mind can't bear it and collapse to death, or we will end up on our own because we can't bear the pain. If you don't believe it, you can feel it carefully and see if the skin is as red as after burning. When Shang shook his head and said slowly. Mu Qingqing immediately raised her pink arm and looked at it. She immediately found that her pink arm was as red as a cooked lobster. This strange picture scared her little face to pale white. She looked at Tian's eyes and felt more grateful.
Tian, how are you not affected by hallucinations?
Yan Bing listens to these words. At the same time, she can't help but look at Tian curiously. At that moment, all of them were deceived by the illusion. Even if Tian's cultivation was more powerful, he could get rid of the powerful illusion, which was still incredible. I have more willpower than you, so I recognize it as an illusion. Tian casually found an excuse, prevaricated in the past, and then looked at the side of the first mistakenly thought that he was burned by the flames, so he was very lost. After looking at the sunset, he said faintly, "Don't think about the flower on the other side."
Do you still want this dark lotus? It's useless to me. Sunset silent for a moment, Lost shook his head.
She thought that there was a flower on the other side of the river, but she never thought that it would be an illusion lotus growing here.
In that case, this lotus belongs to me. Do you have any opinions?
Tian hears speech, turns head to look at Yan Bing and Cloud Fei etc. Wei. Even if it is placed in the square-inch spiritual realm, it belongs to a rather strange species. It is a plant, but it also has the characteristics of animals. It can record what happens around it as the scene of creating illusion. Not only that, after being refined, the pollen of Ming Lotus can not only confuse the mind of the enemy, but also be used to refine pills to forge the mind. Therefore, even if Tian had taken Guiyuan pill before, he still wanted to try to collect this lotus, and try to explore it with his mind to see if he could find more history about Mirage from the memory of the lotus. Tian, holding his breath and isolating pollen, goes to the platform and reaches out to pull the lotus out of the soil. But to his surprise, the root of the lotus seems to be in a very deep place.
With his strong pull, the lotus doesn't move at all.
Take Sui Wangwen's idea for a try. Tian Ben wanted to add more strength, but when he thought of the previous illusion, he turned his eyes, turned the idea of Sui Wang Temple, spread out his breath, and then put his hand on the vine of the dark lotus. Shwa! The breath of Sui Wangwen's idea first came into contact with the dark lotus. The leaves and branches of the dark lotus, which was more than 2 feet long, suddenly trembled. Then they suddenly shrunk to the size of a palm. Moreover, the roots also came out from the ground. The leaves and flowers swayed gently in the calm, as if they were waiting for Tian's harvest. It's going to work. When Tian saw this, his eyes lit up and he grabbed the lotus from the ground. At the same time, he was surprised. Even in front of him, this scene made him doubt whether the idea of Sui Wangwen he practiced was the skill practiced by those who lived in this pure land. Otherwise, because of the perception of Sui Wangwen's thoughts, Ming Lian would not become so trusting in him, even feel its intimate meaning. All of a sudden, a bold idea suddenly appeared in Tian's mind. Is it hard to succeed? Is Sui Wang from the earth? Sui Wang is extremely powerful and dominates all kinds of people in heaven. If he really came from the earth, there would be no legend about it in Fengsuan spirit realm, but immediately, Tian gave up the idea. Unless, Sui Wang intentionally concealed this period of origin. There are no mirage particles in its body. When Tian explored the dark lotus with his divine thoughts, he found a more incredible situation, that is, although the dark lotus also grows in a mirage, it does not have mirage particles inside, just like those elixirs and elixirs outside. Could it be that this small world was covered by the field array before this pure land of cultivation was destroyed and turned into a mirage? What's more, the reason why people can't take more items from mirage is that there are mirage particles in each item? Tian has a lot of thoughts in his heart, but he also knows that these thoughts are just wishful thinking before he can verify them by himself, so he makes a mental move and puts the dark lotus in the storage ring. Lotus has both plant and animal characteristics, so even if you put in the storage ring, it will not destroy its activity. Well, let's go. Tian's divine thoughts spread out and explored carefully on the platform. After confirming that there was nothing different here, he left slowly with Yin Bing, Yunfei, and others. When the crowd left, the field array suddenly turned back on, the door closed, and everything went back to normal again. But at the moment when the door was closed, Tian didn't know whether it was an illusion or something. He suddenly felt that there was a translucent figure on the platform, which was similar to the woman in white before. But when he looked carefully, he found that there was nothing above the platform, and at this time, the door was completely closed. It's dark. Mirage at night is the world of mirage and fog. There will be a large number of mirage and fog wandering around the outside world, which cannot be prevented. Only in these buildings can we not be affected. When Sheng sweeps toward the entrance and finds that the sky is already dark. Then he looks at Yi Tianxin's voice. Mirage fog is particularly active at night? Hearing this, Yi Tian curiously goes to the gate of the bronze buildings and takes a glance at the outside. Glancing over, he saw that the whole mirage world was shrouded in a layer of light green fluorescence. On the ground, there were indeed many light gray fog, like a trickle of water, flowing slowly. Not only that, along the mountains in the distance, you can hear the shrill howling sound from time to time. It should be that some people on the mountain did not find a hiding place in time before dark, or they did not know the truth and were engulfed by the mirage. The dense fog, coupled with these shrill howls, makes people feel that the mirage, like a pure land of cultivation in the daytime, is like a ghost now. In the mirage, the mystery is endless. I don't know when I can uncover the whole truth. The setting face sighs gently, in the eyes like fox, there is no enchantment now, only curiosity. Not only her, Yunfei, Yanbing, Muqingqing and Su Qing are also full of curiosity, looking at the world outside the bronze hall. Although they are all mountain people, have seen a lot of incredible things, and have heard many legends about mirage from others, as the saying goes, it is better to see than to hear 100 things. Only through personal experience can we know the magic of mirage. I'll continue to explore tomorrow. Take a rest. I'll be on duty first. After a while, I'll ask you to stand up for me. Yi Tian chuckles, looks at the crowd and says in a deep voice. Yi Tian is right. Let's have a rest and keep our spirits up. Tomorrow is still a fierce battle. When Sheng nodded and looked at them solemnly. After a day's running, after the twists and turns of Ming Lian, all of them felt tired. Hearing the words, they nodded and found a quiet corner. After a while, they began to snore. After all the people were asleep, Tian scanned the front and saw that Shen Lozhong's magnificent mirage fog, though calm, was pushed by some strange force. In the mirage, he kept wandering like a dragon. Every time he passed by, there was a howl. It was extremely strange. Have you ever seen this? Tian's mind moves and releases Taisui. He makes a silent gesture to Taisui, who is ready to speak, and then spreads a voice. Taisui's experience is richer than that of a monk who has been practicing Taoism for 200 years. Perhaps, he will know the clues of mirage fog and mirage. Mirage fog master, why do you come to such a pitching place again? Is it not enough to learn from the field of life and death? Hearing this, Taisui looked out of the palace and said in horror. Do you know mirage fog? Isn't it dangerous here? Tian didn't respond to Taisui's question, but looked at Yilin and continued to ask. The cause of mirage fog is very complicated. As far as I know, there is no public opinion, but the most reliable one is that a large number of strong people have died, and their rhymes and magic, as well as their powerful divine consciousness, collide with each other, creating a special situation similar to the field, Taisui explained slowly, and then said, in the Dark Age, all the heavens and all the realms are shrouded in this damned thing. I don't know how many friars died in this strange thing. Was there a mirage in the Dark Ages? Why haven't I heard of? Tian was astonished. In fact, Taisui believed that there were many signs of the death of the strong in the mirage. But it was the first time he had heard about the mirage in the Dark Ages. Master, although you are Emperor Dan, you have only been practicing for 200 years. Taisui sneered, and then said, in the Dark Age, as long as you have experienced it, no one is willing to mention it. You have never heard of mirage fog, which is normal. But when you were in Fangsu and Lingyu, you should have heard the saying, don't go out in the dark. Tian immediately nodded. When he was in Fangsu and Lingyu, he did hear this strange saying and explored the truth of it. But unfortunately, no one could tell the reason, so he understood it as the saying that adults on Earth use night to scare children. But now it doesn't seem to be what he thought. However, the mirage fog that once existed in the Dark Age and the square-inch spiritual realm now appears on the Earth. Does it mean that this place is related to the Dark Age, and the Dark Age is not over, and there is an end to it on the Earth? In the past, the sky was full of mist. If you don't pay attention, you will lose your life. However, the mirage here is much weaker than that in the Dark Ages. Taisui glanced at the bronze palace again, then his jelly-like body trembled a few times, like recalling some bad memories. Master, I advise you that mirage is very dangerous. No matter what you do here, you can get away as soon as possible. Don't delay. Next, Taisui continues to urge Tian, hoping that he will leave the mirage as soon as possible. The mirage will be closed in 2 days. I can't leave until then. Tianchen explained. Well, don't provoke this thing. It's too evil. Taisui was relieved when he heard that Tian had a way to leave. After glancing at the outside, his tone suddenly became a little strange and said, how come these mirage fog are coming towards us? Hearing this, Tian suddenly turned to look out of the palace. As soon as he could see, the mirage fog, which used to hover around the mirage like a dragon, was flying towards the location of the bronze palace like a strange inspiration. Not only that, a mirage fog, when close, is condensed into a stream. Sir, what have you done? What do I think this thing is for us? Taisui's body is tightly attached to Tian's leg, and his voice shrinks. I tried to feel the mirage with my mind, and I heard a strange sound from it. Tianchen replied that his whole body muscles were tense, and he also had a very bad feeling. Who almost at the moment when his voice fell, the mirage fog suddenly appeared at the gate of the bronze palace. The originally gray mirage fog, now because of a large number of convergence, has become black, like a dark cloud. When it appeared, it made Tian feel that the light around him was dark, like falling into darkness. Looking around, it was all hopeless. Damn it! Without any hesitation, Tian quickly withdrew one step back. He felt that this mysterious mirage seemed to have some awe for the building, and he did not dare to get close to it. It's not that it should die, it's the master.
What's wrong with you? How can you even play with such evil things? Dead, I'm dead this time. Taisui holds Yi Tian's calf tightly, trembling all over, flustered and speechless. But at this time, the mirage fog hovering outside the bronze palace suddenly made a decision. All the black fog suddenly condensed and turned into a big hand. Suddenly, it came out and rushed into Yi Tian along the door of the bronze palace. Click! 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 As soon as the hand of mirage fog flies into the palace, the bronze palace suddenly trembles, and a series of golden thunderbolts suddenly emerge and strike the hand of mirage fog. Every thunderstorm makes the color of mirage fog's hand a little lighter, and makes it shiver, like extreme pain. But even so, the big hand of mirage fog is still like not feeling, 5 fingers open, to Yi Tian hit. Yi Tian, what's the matter? How did the mirage fog rush into the building? This strange smell has awakened Wenchang, Yanbing, and others. Seeing this scene, people immediately exclaimed. But almost at the same time, mirage fog big hand is suddenly clenched, seized the leaf day. Fire Yi Tian doesn't have any hesitation. His mana is surging and his Taoism is running. He has to fight against mirage. However, the power of mirage fog was treacherous and terrifying. His struggle had no effect at all. His body was grabbed out of control by mirage fog's big hand, and then entered the boundless night outside the bronze palace. For a moment, Yi Tian felt that his whole body was up and down, just like falling into an ice cellar, and his blood would turn into ice. I got you. Then, a low and hoarse voice rang out from his ear. Immediately, a strange feeling like the whirl of heaven suddenly came. Yi Tian's idea was powerful, but under the terrible impact, his consciousness suddenly fell into a coma. He only felt that the world was wrapped by darkness. What's the matter? What happened? How did Yi Tian get caught? What the hell is going on? In the bronze hall, there was a mess. Whether it was Wenchang or Yanbing, everyone's face was full of confusion. Mirage is never close to the building. This is the conclusion drawn by several generations of people exploring Mirage. But now Mirage's action breaks this conclusion. Moreover, the attitude of Mirage Fog is extremely obvious. It seems that it is aimed at Yi Tian and doesn't care about others. Otherwise, Yi Tian is not the only one who just disappeared. I'm afraid their lives will be lost. After a short tremor, Wenchang quickly walks to the gate of the bronze palace and looks around. However, he can't see Yi Tian's trace, as if he has been swallowed by a mirage. Master 1, do you remember that Yi Tian had fought against Mirage several times before? He should have a way to deal with this crisis. We'd better not go out before dawn, so as not to find Yi Tian, but to have another accident. Yunfei see Wenchang ready to go out, quickly step forward, block road. Wenchang hears the sound and his eyes change. He stares at the dark world outside and scans for a long time. Finally, he takes back his steps with a long sigh. He knows that Yunfei is telling the truth. With his current cultivation, he leaves the bronze palace to find Yi Tian. I'm afraid there's only one way out. He is really some can't understand, Mirage Fog, how to target so clearly Yi Tian. This time, I finally caught you, Jia Jia. At this time, Yi Tian suddenly heard a strange voice after a whirl. He shook his head hard. When he woke up, he found that he was in a strange space at the moment. Looking around, he felt as if the world had not been opened up. This is... When Yi Tian looked at the position where the voice came from, his eyes were dull. What he saw was a strange mask. The material of the mask was unknown and it was floating in the air. However, the appearance of the mask was a strange face with tears dripping from the corners of his eyes, which seemed to cry rather than cry and smile rather than smile. This grimace, Yi Tian can be said to be familiar with the extreme. He saw in the gold foil fragments, it is this strange pattern. Your body, your breath. Grimace mask is extremely strange, not only the expression, but also along the mask itself, there is an extremely evil chi. Lord of Darkness. At the same time, Taisui also breathed out in amazement, and his jelly-like body was shaking like chaff. Lord of Darkness? Yi Tian hears the sound and his eyes are slightly awe-inspiring. According to the meaning of Taisui's words, Is this mask a symbol of the master of the Dark Age? Everything about you is mine.
But at this time, the grimace masked Jiejia's sneer circled to Yi Tian's face fly, such as to cover his cheek.
No!
This strange chi makes Yi Tian feel bad. He feels that once he is covered by the mask, he will not be himself, but will be robbed of his soul by the breath in the mask. He wanted to dodge, but the fog and mud made him unable to move. He could only look at the grimace mask and approach his cheek a little bit.
The treacherous chi makes Yi Tian's mind dizzy.
If there are tens of thousands of complicated sounds in his mind, he even has an impulse to vomit. He wanted to run Sui Wangwan idea and stabilize his mind, but unfortunately, if the mana was imprisoned, it could not run at all.
Ming, you are still.
But at this time, in the boundless grey fog, suddenly there is a clear but dignified voice, followed by, Yi Tianxi, from his side. Suddenly there is a hand stretched out, spotless, white as jade, with a kind of dust breath.
What's this? The woman in the phantom coffin. She is still alive.
Yi Tian is creepy, and immediately judges her master from the appearance of this hand.
Hua Xiu.
Almost at the moment when the finger appears, the progress of Grimace Mask approaching Yi Tian suddenly slows down and makes a sound of panic and hatred.
This time, you can't stop me.
But the next second, the speed of the mask of Grimace speeded up, trying to cover Yi Tian's face before the woman named Hua Xiu appeared. At this time, Hua Xiu's arm came in to bully the frost and snow, accompanied by the holy glory and a kind of mysterious and peaceful atmosphere, and then two fingers flicked. Just the slight bounce, there is a wave of earth-shaking energy wave diffusion, and it is obviously a very fast action, but it gives people a kind of instant as the spring and autumn rotation, as long as the change of years.
The ghost face mask, worn directly by this bullet, hit back. This breath. Yi Tian is terrified. With such strength, he asks himself, even in the heyday of Fengsuan spirit realm, he can't do it. This woman's cultivation is above Yupu, which seems to be Tiangong, or even higher. This kind of powerful, even give Yi Tian a kind of extremely unreal feeling.
Next, the woman named Hua Xiu steps out. Her pure white skirt moves in the fog, as if she were a real fairy in the dust. With her hand gently brushing forward, red lotus blossoms suddenly appear and take root in Yi Tian and her body. Red lotus swaying, floating, shining, straight, let people feel that she crisscrossed 9 days in 10 places, vast world of mortals.
Sua Wangwen thought. Yi Tian was stunned.
He felt that there was the chi of the original spirit fire in the red lotus. It is obvious that Hua Su, like him, cultivated the idea of Sui Huang.
A remnant image, kill you.
Grimace masked Jie cold chide, grimace concussion, a faint voice, suddenly spread out, such as hundreds of millions of people chanting prayers, and countless people fighting desperately, just hurt a little, people feel as if their heads are going to explode. Hua Xiu's hand flicked, and the red lotus blossomed and flew to the grimace mask.
Boom! When the two touch each other, the grand mirage will roar and tremble.
In the void, countless huge cracks appear, as if to disintegrate and explode.
Run away!
Then, Yi Tian's ear suddenly sounded Hua Xiu's voice, and in the sound of the moment, he suddenly found that his body recovered the ability to act. The whole body of grey fog also disappeared. And in the very remote edge of the island, in the dark appeared a touch of light, as if hope and new life.